Fresh pork. Hot pork. Just slaughtered this morning. Yeah, that's me, Zhao Xingyue, the girl with the loudest voice in the entire market. I could out-yell a thunderstorm if I wanted to. The other vendors? Jealous. Absolutely green with envy. Now, everyone in this town calls me Old Six, because I'm the sixth kid in the Zhao family. I hate that nickname with every fiber of my very large being. But does anyone care? Nope. Even Granny Sue, who buys pork from me every other day, can't remember my actual name. She called me Moon something. Close enough, Granny. Close enough. And speaking of Granny Sue, bless her heart and curse her mouth, she just had to remind me that I'm too fat to deserve a scholar. Thanks, Granny. Real motivational speech right there. I mean, yes, I'm a big girl. My parents raised me on pork. I'm a butcher's daughter. What did people expect? A willow branch. Here's the backstory. Years ago, the Sun family came crawling to my dad begging for a marriage arrangement. The Suns were broke. Like, skipping meals broke. My family fed them, funded them, basically kept that whole household from turning into a pile of dust. And their precious son, Sun Chirue? He spent 5 or 6 years studying on our dime until he finally passed the imperial exam and became a shiozai. So, what does this freshly minted scholar do? Does he come with gifts and gratitude? Does he fall on his knees thanking the family that literally kept him alive? No. He sends his mother to dump me. My 5th brother came sprinting into the market like his pants were on fire. Come home. Now. So I grabbed my cart, loaded with unsold pork and 2 brothers sitting on it like royalty, and I pushed that thing through the streets like a human freight train. 5th brother was up front screaming, "Make way." The cart has no eyes, which is honestly the funniest traffic warning I've ever heard. People in the market were already placing bets. Must be the engagement gifts arriving, said the optimists. Nah, it's definitely a breakup, said the realists. Thanks for the support, neighbors. Before I went inside, my little informant, a beggar kid named Ergu, flagged me down. This kid is basically my intelligence network. For a scrap of meat, he delivers top-tier gossip faster than any messenger pigeon. Sun Chirue hooked up with the county magistrate's daughter. So that's how it is. The man I fed for 6 years found himself a upgrade with political connections. Romantic. Erga looked at me all sad and said, "Don't be too heartbroken. He doesn't deserve you. Kid, you're 10 years old and already wiser than most grown men. Respect." I strolled home with my hands behind my back, calm as a monk who just finished meditation. The whole neighborhood had already gathered at our gate like it was free theater, which, honestly, it kind of was. Everyone gave me those pitiful eyes. Oh, poor Xingyue, don't be too sad. I laughed. Actually laughed.
It's just a man, I said.
3-legged toads are hard to find, but 2-legged men? They're literally everywhere. Inside, the scene was exactly what I expected. My sisters-in-law were screaming at old lady Sun, whose nose was so high in the air she could smell clouds. My son is a scholar now, she kept saying. Your fat daughter isn't worthy. My mom was about to faint. My brothers wanted blood. The Sun family looked like they'd already won the lottery. And me? I walked in, steady as a mountain, not a single tear on my face, and said one word, deal. Everyone froze. The Suns couldn't believe their luck. My family couldn't believe their ears. My mom grabbed my arm. Child, if we break this off, what happens to you? But here's the thing nobody in that room understood yet. I wasn't heartbroken. I was free. Fighting a scholar backed by a county magistrate? That's a losing game, and I don't play games I can't win.
Besides, I'm Zhao Xingyi.
I can push a cart carrying 2 grown men uphill without breaking a sweat. I eat pork for breakfast. I've got arms thicker than Sun Chirue's entire future. That man didn't lose a fiancé. He lost a legend. Sure, we can break off this engagement. But first, pay up. Look, I'm not unreasonable. But I'm not stupid either. My family spent 38 taels of silver on these freeloaders over the past 5 or 6 years. That's not counting all the pig heads and offal we gave them. You think I'm going to let them walk away without coughing up every last copper? I marched into that room like a thundercloud with legs. I'm not exaggerating when I say I blocked the entire doorway, sunlight and all. Yes, I'm that big. It's a feature, not a bug. And there he was. Sun Chiruwe, my so-called fiancé. The man looked at me with actual disgust in his eyes, and honestly, I almost laughed. For 6 years this snake pretended to be devoted to me. Oh, Xingyue, you're the only one for me. Oh, Xingyue, I could never love another. Yeah, sure. Good thing I never believed a single word out of that lying mouth. 100 taels of silver, I announced. That's the price of freedom. His mother nearly had a stroke. 100 taels? Why don't you just ROBS? Lady, I basically already have been robbed.
By you.
For 6 years.
Sit down.
But here's where it gets interesting. See, I'd already spotted a little servant girl in green perched on our wall like a spy pigeon. I knew exactly who sent her. The county magistrate's daughter. Sun Chiruwe's shiny new upgrade. So when I named my price, I wasn't talking to the suns. I was talking to the money behind them. And sure enough, the little spy vanished the second she heard the number. Meanwhile, Sun Chiruwe tried something even more outrageous. This man, this audacious man, actually suggested I become his concubine.
His concubine.
My sisters-in-law nearly ripped his face off. Even I had to pause and admire the sheer stupidity of it. Sir, I've been pinning down thrashing pigs since I was 10 years old. My father, a professional pig slaughterer, can't hold them down, but I can do it one-handed. And you want to bring me into your house as a servant wife next to some magistrate's precious daughter? If you're not afraid I'll accidentally snap your little sweetheart's neck in my sleep, I said sweetly, then sure, let's try that arrangement. He actually stepped backward. Smart man. First intelligent thing he's done in 6 years. Right on cue, the green dress spy girl came running back with a bag of silver. 100 taels.
Just like that.
The magistrate's daughter was so desperate to close this deal, she didn't even haggle. Love really does make people stupid. My mistress is paying on Scholarson's behalf, the girl announced, but you'd better keep your mouth shut about all this, or you'll regret it. Oh, honey, the entire neighborhood is literally watching this happen right now. The secret ship has sailed, crashed into the rocks, and sunk to the bottom of the ocean. I tossed the silver to my third sister-in-law. Her hands were shaking. 100 taels. In this economy, that's more money than most families see in a lifetime. And I just squeezed it out of a love triangle like juice from a lemon. Then the genius scholar suggested we go to the magistrate's office together to cancel the marriage contract. I stared at him. Why would I need to go? Just ask your new father-in-law, the county magistrate, to handle it. He literally runs the office. The color drained from his face. He hadn't even thought of that. 6 years of studying, and this is the brain we're working with? How did this man pass the exam? Did the examiner feel sorry for him? He gathered his dignity, what little remained, and called for his mother and servant. Let's go. But old lady Sun wasn't done. She wanted that money back. So she launched herself at me like a human cannonball. Big mistake. She bounced off me like a tennis ball hitting a brick wall. I didn't even flinch. I didn't even sway. She, on the other hand, went stumbling backward out the door, across the yard, and landed, with a magnificent splash, right into our pig pen. Into the manure pile. I wish I could say I planned it. I didn't. But the universe clearly has taste. My pig fertilizer, my eldest sister-in-law screamed, running after Sun Chiruwe with her hand out. That manure was supposed to go to the countryside. She ruined it. Pay up. The scholar was so furious I thought actual flames might shoot out of his ears. He threw a handful of copper coins at my sister-in-law's feet and ordered his servant girl to fish his mother out of the pig dung. The poor servant was gagging the entire time. They stumbled away, one covered in manure, one dry heaving, and one pretending he didn't know either of them. The whole neighborhood burst out laughing the second they were out of earshot. Cowards, all of them. But at least they enjoyed the show. And then, because good news never comes without a side of anxiety, someone had to remind me, hey old six, your birthday is in a month. If you don't find a husband by then, the government will assign you to a widower. Wonderful. Just wonderful. I just made 100 taels, and now I've got 30 days to find a man before the Imperial Matchmaking Service pairs me with some toothless grandpa. Being me is never boring. The second those nosy neighbors cleared out, I slammed the gate shut and dragged my family inside because I had priorities. Sisters-in-law, is it all there? Is it really 100 taels? Look, I know I just got publicly dumped by a man who spent 6 years mooching off my family. I know my romantic future is currently a dumpster fire. But have you ever held 100 taels of silver? Because heartbreak heals a lot faster when you're holding cold, hard cash. My mom, bless her, did not share my enthusiasm. She burst into tears the second the strangers left. My baby, 18 years old, and no husband. What are we going to do? My sisters-in-law were already halfway out the door. I'll check my hometown. I'll ask my cousins. If worst comes to worst, we'll borrow a 70-year-old village elder to stand in as a groom. He's technically still a man, right? See, here's the thing about our country. So many men died in wars that the eligible ones get snatched up by age 11 or 12. Finding an unmarried guy right now is harder than finding a pig that enjoys bath time. Relax, everyone, I said, cool as a cucumber in winter. I've got over a month. And if all else fails, I'll just buy a husband. Yes. Buy one. At the slave market. Marry him, have a kid, toss the man out, keep the baby. Problem solved. I'm nothing if not practical. My mom nearly had a seizure. A slave? What kind of plan is that? But my brothers. Oh. My brother's eyes lit up like lanterns. Actually, that's not bad. She stays home with us. We get a live-in worker. Everybody wins. Shut up, all of you, Mom screamed. Apparently, buy a disposable husband was not the reassurance she was looking for.
Bang!
The front gate practically flew off its hinges. In stormed my father, Zhao Baoguei, pushing a flatbed cart with 2 live, squealing, very alarmed pigs strapped to it. Where is that Sun family? I'll butcher that little weasel myself. Dad had been out buying pigs all morning. He heard the news in town and came roaring home like a Category 5 typhoon with a knife collection. The man has been killing pigs for 30 years. He's basically walking murder energy at this point. I looked at the gate dangling from one hinge.
My dad and I really are alike.
Daddy, calm down. Have some water. It's hot. I grabbed the cart from him and casually tossed 2 full-grown pigs into the pen like they were stuffed animals.
Just another Tuesday for me.
Dad looked at me with those sad eyes. He's got 5 sons and 1 daughter, me, the baby, the treasure he wished on every star for. My second and third brothers got drafted into the army 6 years ago. 4th brother got pulled into labor service. So now it's just me, Dad, big brother, and 5th brother running the whole butcher operation. I've been slaughtering pigs since I was 10. At first I couldn't control my strength, and things got messy.
But now?
I'm the best pig wrangler in the county, and I'm not even being modest. Mom hit Dad with the waterworks immediately. Our daughter got dumped. How will we live? Dad reached for his knife. I'm going to kill Dad. Look, I know my father better than anyone. I held up the bag of silver right in front of his face. He forgot about murder instantly. He grabbed a piece of silver and bit it. Actually bit it like some kind of pirate checking doubloons. Mom looked at him with pure disgust. But listen, that's where I get it from. We are a family of money-loving pig butchers, and I refuse to be ashamed. Dad, I want to use this money to rent the shop next to our stall. I'm going to sell braised meat. Here's my genius plan. Mom makes the most incredible braised pig offal in the world. Pig heads, pig feet, pig intestines, stuff nobody else wants. But the way my mother cooks it, dogs have literally cried smelling it from 10 streets away. The aroma covers half the town every time she fires up the pot. We just never thought to sell it. And right now, shops are dirt cheap. There's a drought going on, everyone's spending money on grain, and the shop I want costs maybe 30 taels at most. That leaves plenty of silver for stockpiling food. But why stockpile grain? My big brother asked, his brain working at its usual glacial pace. Because it hasn't rained in 2 months, genius. If the crops fail, we'll need to feed over a dozen mouths, including your 4 kids who are living with Grandpa in the village. Grain is going to be worth more than gold. Granny Sue once told me, when there's grain in the house, there's peace in the heart. People think she's just a chatty old lady with bad memory, but that woman drops wisdom bombs when you least expect it. Dad didn't even hesitate.
Done.
I'll go negotiate for the shop. The rest of you, buy grain. Tomorrow we start hauling it to the countryside. That's what I love about my dad. When his daughter speaks, he listens. If I told him to chase a dog, he wouldn't accidentally go after chicken. He's a simple man with excellent priorities. Mom stared at both of us like we'd collectively lost our minds. Have you two been eating pig brain? The priority is finding your daughter a husband, not opening a restaurant. She has a point. But also, money first, men later. A husband without silver is just another mouth to feed. A shop that sells braised meat? That's forever. My parents were about 2 seconds away from starting a full domestic war over who was responsible for the Sun family engagement disaster when I stepped in. Mom, Dad, we have 1 month. Can we please focus on making money first and finding me a husband second? I divvied up the silver and sent everyone scrambling. Brothers went to buy grain. Dad went to negotiate for the shop. Within 5 minutes, the house was empty except for me and Mom, who was, surprised, crying again. But then she did something that genuinely shocked me. She reached into a crack in the wall and pulled out more silver, like a squirrel who forgot where she buried her nuts, except she remembered exactly where they were. Nearly 15 taels hidden in the wall.
Mom.
How long has that been in there? It's your dowry money. I've been saving it for years and now, cue the waterworks. Again. My mother is made of 60% tears today. I sat her down and told her the truth, that Sun Chiruwe had been sneaking around with the county magistrate's daughter long before the breakup, and that little servant girl Shinger was proof. The marriage was doomed no matter what. At least we got 100 taels out of it. Mom went from sad to furious in half a second. I should have let your father kill him, see? That's the Zhao family spirit. Speaking of that servant girl, guess who showed up at our door again? Little Miss Green Dress came strutting back with a message from her precious mistress. Stay away from Scholar Son, or my lady will have your family's meat stall shut down. Oh.
Oh.
You're threatening me? In MY house? Next to MY Pigpen? I crack my knuckles. My fists are roughly the size of sandbags, and this girl was standing dangerously close to a pile of pig manure with a proven track record of catching human beings. Here's what you're going to tell your mistress, I said, stepping forward. She stepped backward. I stepped forward again. She was practically backing into the pig pen. Beautiful. If she doesn't want the whole world to know she's already pregnant with Sun Chiruwe's baby, she'll leave my family alone. The girl's face went white as tofu. How do you know that? Who do you think told me? I said with a smile that could curdle milk. I have no idea who told me, actually. I just guessed. But she didn't need to know that. Then I gave her some free advice, because I'm generous like that. Don't let them send you to the Sun household as part of the dowry. That man is a snake. He'll ruin you too. She called me sister before she ran away.
Sister.
5 minutes ago she called me fat dead pig, and now we're family. Amazing what a good threat can do. Mom stood behind me with her mouth hanging open. The magistrate's daughter is
Pregnant. Yep.
And Sun Chiruwe did it. Still wish I'd married him. Thank the heavens we broke it off. Mom grabbed her chest like her heart was trying to escape. Honestly, same, Mom. We dodged a cannonball. The rest of the evening was actually
nice.
The family trickled home with cartloads of grain, which I stacked in the yard like a tiny fortress. Mom and I cleaned the pig offal, intestines, stomach, all the bits nobody else wants. You have to scrub them with wood ash, which is disgusting, but with my strength I had a whole basin done before Mom even finished her second piece. Dad came home glowing. The shop deal went through. Only 28 taels. Oldly gave us a discount. That left plenty of silver for grain and supplies. I could smell our braised meat from 3 streets away, Dad announced, practically floating through the door. This stuff is going to sell like crazy. I'd already sliced up a huge plate of braised pig head meat. We ate it over rough rice soaked in the braising broth, and let me tell you, if happiness had a flavor, this would be it. Rich, savory, fall apart tender. The neighbors' dogs were probably outside weeping. Then Dad got serious. He looked at me with those soft eyes, the ones he only uses for me, his one and only daughter, the baby he wished on stars for. Xingyue, you're not going to the market tomorrow. Your fifth brother will take you to the village to stay with your grandparents for a few days. Translation: he didn't want me around town where people would gossip about the breakup, and where creepy old widowers might start circling like vultures. My dad has 5 sons and 1 daughter. I am the sun, the moon, and every star in his sky. If anyone so much as looks at me wrong, he reaches for his butcher knife first and asks questions never.
Sure, Dad.
I miss Grandma and Grandpa anyway. I said it cheerfully, but the truth is, I agreed because I know my father. He's a walking volcano with a short fuse and a very sharp knife. If some old man made a comment about me in the market, Dad wouldn't just yell. Dad would commit a felony. And our family can't afford that right now. We're surviving. The drought is getting worse, pigs are getting thinner, grain is getting expensive, and my 2 brothers are off fighting a war against the D nation with no letters home in months. But we've got a new shop, a mountain of grain, and the best braised pork recipe in the entire province. All I need now is a husband, or a reasonable substitute. Ideally one who doesn't mind a wife who can bench press him. 30 miles. 2 carts loaded to the brim with grain. Summer heat that could fry an egg on your forehead. Fifth brother was dying. Sweating like a waterfall, panting like a dog in August, stopping every 5 minutes to gulp water. Meanwhile, me? Cool as a breeze. Not even a little red in the face.
Cease. Wait.
Up. Want me to push both carts? I offered. Honestly, it would have been faster. Absolutely not. I'm your older brother. I have dignity. His dignity was currently dripping down his face in the form of sweat, but okay. I respect the effort. To pass the time, fifth brother started complaining about our names. See, Dad named all 5 boys after cattle. Big Bull, Second Bull, Third Bull, Fourth Bull, Fifth Bull.
But me?
I got Star Moon. Poetic. Beautiful. Dad says the night I was born, the moon was huge and the sky was full of stars, and he was so inspired he came up with my name on the spot. Meanwhile, my brothers got Bull 1 through 5 because Dad ran out of creativity after the first pig he slaughtered that morning. Dad clearly loves you more, fifth brother grumbled. Hey, at least he didn't name you Big Pig, Second Dog, and Third Donkey, I said. Count your blessings. He thought about it for a second. Fair point. The countryside we passed through was heartbreaking, though. Crops wilting in the fields, farmers hauling water bucket by bucket from rivers that were already getting low. Fifth brother kept insisting it wouldn't turn into a real famine. It's gone a month or 2 without rain before, and we were fine. Maybe. But the trees were drooping, the rivers were shrinking, and my gut told me this was different. Better to have a mountain of grain and not need it than to need it and have nothing. I quietly moved half the grain from his cart onto mine. He didn't notice for 10 minutes. When he did, his pride was wounded but his back was grateful. We finally stumbled into the village afternoon, and immediately the welcoming committee descended. Oh look, the Zhao siblings. 5 Bull, you're pathetic. Look how strong little moon girl is compared to you. If she'd been born a boy, she'd be a general by now. Thanks, village elders. Really building up my brother's self-esteem there. Then came the real problem. Granny number 2. This woman is the village's self-appointed intelligence agent. Nothing gets past her, and nothing is safe from her grabby little claws. What's on those carts? Is that grain? Her hand was already reaching for the bags like a raccoon going after trash. Oh no, you don't. But before I could say a word, my eldest aunt appeared out of nowhere like a protective mama bear teleporting into battle. Smack. She slapped Granny 2's hand away, like swatting a fly. Are you touching my family's things? You think we have no one to protect us? Granny 2 retreated immediately. My aunt has a reputation as the fiercest woman in Zhao village, and that reputation is earned. It's just pig brand for Grandpa's pigs, I said innocently. Business has been bad. We can barely find pigs to buy anymore. I laid it on thick. Made us sound practically bankrupt. The villagers ate it up. Granny 2 was especially delighted. Nothing makes jealous people happier than hearing you're doing poorly. I knew it. That fat girl has no brains. She's definitely telling the truth. Granny, too, actually said that about me. Out loud. That being fat makes you stupid. Ma'am, I just squeezed 100 tails out of a scholar, a county magistrate's daughter, and her servant in one afternoon. But sure, I'm the dumb one. My aunt strutted away like a rooster who just won a cockfight, basket on her arm, hips swaying, radiating pure smugness. That woman is a national treasure. Finally, we made it to Grandpa's house. My grandpa is 67 years old, tan darker than leather, tough as old tree roots, and the second he saw me, his whole face crinkled up into the biggest smile you've ever seen. Moon girl, are you hot? Thirsty? Come inside right now. This man has a small army of grandsons and great-grandsons. But I'm his only granddaughter. In his eyes, I'm not just a person. I'm a precious gem wrapped in gold foil sitting on a silk pillow.
Grandpa.
I missed you so much. I ran over and grabbed his hands, being very, very careful not to squeeze too hard. I once accidentally crushed a wooden bucket handle just by gripping it. Grandpa's bones are not wooden bucket handles. Then Grandma came shuffling out. White hair, the sweetest face in the world. Arms already open for a hug. Grandma, I charged at her like a baby calf, scooped her up, and kissed her face about 15 times. She weighed basically nothing. I could carry 3 of her and not even notice. Put your grandmother down, you reckless girl. That would be my eldest aunt, who had just arrived and was now horrified that I was swinging a 70-year-old woman around like a teddy bear. But here's where things got spicy. Grandpa heard, reckless girl, and his entire vibe shifted from loving grandpa to angry dragon in 0.2 seconds. Who are you calling a reckless girl? You're a reckless girl. Your whole family is reckless girls. He was pointing at his own daughter-in-law's nose, ready to go to war. Nobody, and I mean nobody, insults his granddaughter. Not the Sun family. Not the village gossips. Not even family members with good intentions. I am Grandpa's heart, his treasure, the sparkle in his ancient eyes. And honestly, after the week I've had, being someone's whole universe felt pretty nice. Fifth brother is basically a ghost in this family. Every time we visit the old house, everyone swarms me while he just stands there like furniture. I'd feel bad, but honestly, he's used to it. The whole clan was gathered, uncles, aunts, cousins, their kids, their kids' kids. The room was packed tighter than a pig pen on market day. Everyone was asking about my wedding, showering me with gifts they'd prepared as dowry. Then fifth brother opened his big mouth. The engagement got cancelled. He said it so quietly a mouse would have missed it. But my cousin Dashin, built like a small mountain, hence the name, shot up from his seat like someone lit a firecracker under him. What did you say? And just like that, the entire Zhao clan exploded. He dared. I'll destroy his house. Our moon girl isn't good enough for him. Even the little kids grabbed their tiny stools like weapons. My 5-year-old nephew was ready to go to war. This family doesn't do calm discussion. We go from 0 to grab the pitchforks in 3 seconds flat. Everybody shut up and let your sister talk. That was my eldest uncle, reaching for his tobacco pipe, which Grandpa immediately snatched out of his hand and stuck in his own mouth. Even during a family crisis, Grandpa doesn't miss a chance to steal a smoke. I kept the explanation short and sweet. Sun Chirui passed his exam, decided I wasn't good enough, so they broke it off. Honestly, good riddance. He was trash. Now can we please focus on stockpiling grain? I deliberately left out the juicy details, the pregnant magistrate's daughter, the bouncing off my body mother-in-law, the pig manure incident. Because if my cousins found out the full story, Sun Chirui would be discovered floating in a river by Tuesday. And murder is illegal. Apparently. But did anyone want to talk about grain?
No.
Forget grain. What about your marriage? My eldest aunt couldn't even eat. My second aunt literally stood up and headed for the door. I'm going to canvass the village right now and find this girl a man. Grandma's face went dark as storm clouds.
Seat.
Down. Second aunt sat down so fast she almost missed the chair. I tried to calm everyone. Look, I'll figure it out. Worst case scenario, I just kidnap a husband. I see a cute guy, I throw him over my shoulder, drag him home, and we're married.
Done.
Who's going to stop me? I could bench press every man in this village. The room went silent for 1 second, then erupted in laughter. But here's the scary part. They were actually considering it. I could see the wheels turning behind their eyes. She could just grab one. She is strong enough. This family, I swear. Grandpa finally made the executive decision. Tomorrow, everybody works. Old folks and kids dig wild vegetables. Young people head into the mountains to hunt. We're preparing for whatever's coming. And that set off the village gossip machine like nothing I've ever seen. Within hours, the rumors were flying. The Zhao family has gone insane. They're digging weeds and hunting like beggars. Their business must have collapsed. The richest family in the village is finished. The village busybodies were absolutely thrilled. Nothing makes nosy neighbors happier than watching successful people fall apart. They were practically dancing. The gossip reached our old clan leader by afternoon. This man is 90-something years old, deaf in both ears, and can barely walk, but the second he heard the Zhao family might be going broke, his legs magically healed. He leaped onto his grandson's back and flew to our house faster than a horse. Is it true? Is your business ruined? He wasn't worried about us, mind you. He was worried about the family ancestral hall. Our branch pays for the yearly repairs. If we go broke, the hall falls apart, and the old man would rather die than let that happen. Grandpa played it cool. Told him business was tough. Pigs were hard to find. Times were bad. Then he dropped the real advice. If you trust me, old friend, tell the clan to quietly stockpile grain. Just in case. The old clan leader's eyes went wide. You could practically see the light bulb flickering on above his head. He didn't ask questions. He just scrambled away to call an emergency meeting. Smart man. Old people who've survived famines before don't need to be told twice. The next morning, our whole family headed for the mountains. My cousins tried to bench me with the women and children. Stay here and dig vegetables with Grandma, sis. I looked at them. Then I looked at the mountain. Then I looked at them again. Can I even squat low enough to dig vegetables? Have you seen me? I'm coming with you. If you run into a bear, are you going to wrestle it? They had no comeback for that. My cousin Dashin sighed dramatically. Great-great-grandpa's spirit is so unfair. He passed down his supernatural strength to only the little sister. The rest of us got nothing, not just great-great-grandpa. Another cousin chimed in. Grandpa favors her. Grandma favors her. Our parents favor her. Even we favor her. We get something nice, and the first person we think of isn't our wives or kids, it's this chubby little sister. I grabbed them all in a group side hug, gently because I could crack ribs if I squeezed. My heart is biased too. I love every single one of you idiots. And I meant it. In this whole messy world, drought coming, ex-fiancé being trash, government deadline to get married, village gossips talking behind our backs, I had something most people would kill for. A family so crazy they'd kidnap a groom for me. A grandpa who'd fight his own daughter-in-law for calling me a name. And a whole clan of cousins ready to commit felonies on my behalf. Life isn't perfect. But when your family's heart is biased toward you, it's pretty close. Big Cool Mountain is massive, thick forests, lush plants, and supposedly crawling with wildlife. Keyword, supposedly. Because this drought has turned even the wilderness into a sad, empty wasteland. We hiked for ages and saw basically nothing. The outer parts of the mountain are dried up, I told my cousins. But deeper in, there should still be water and animals. Third River, my most anxious cousin, immediately panicked. Deep mountain? Old folks say there are tigers in there. And wolves. Things that eat people. Relax, nobody's going into the deep mountain. But we should set up animal traps around the village at night, just in case hungry predators come looking for food. Big Mountain, my oldest cousin, waved it off. I'm almost 30, and I've never seen a wild beast come down from the mountains. You guys worry too much. Then Big River laughed at us for being cowards. And that's when I spotted a rabbit.
Look.
Over there. A rabbit. Big Mountain barely had time to pull out his machete before I picked up a rock and launched it like a cannonball. Direct hit. Third River sprinted over to grab it. She obliterated its head. Haha, listen, I don't have a bow. I don't have a spear, but I do have arms like tree trunks and aim that would make an archer weep. One rock, one rabbit, zero effort. This is how Zhao Xingyue hunts. 3 River, get back here. Behind you, a massive black shadow emerged from the bushes. A wild boar, tusks like daggers, eyes full of murder. And it was charging straight at Third River's unprotected back. Third River didn't look back. He just ran, clutching that dead rabbit like his life depended on it, which, to be fair, it did. My cousins immediately went into protection mode. Xingyue, run down the mountain. We'll hold it OFF, sweet boys. Brave boys. Stupid boys. Big Mountain grabbed his machete with trembling hands. Third River, who 5 seconds ago was about to faint from terror, suddenly squared up like a soldier. I'll fight too. Even his eyes changed, like something switched on inside him. I appreciated the effort. I really did. But I was already sprinting at the boar. The wild boar saw me coming, and I am not making this up, its 4 legs started backing away. It looked at me, looked at my body, and some ancient pig survival instinct told it, that is a bigger pig. Run. Too late, buddy. I grabbed it by the tusks. Both hands. Full grip. Then I lifted it over my head. All 200 to 300 pounds of angry, squealing, flailing pork, and slammed it onto a boulder like I was cracking an egg on a countertop. Crack. The boar twitched once and went still. I turned around. My 3 cousins were frozen mid-stride, machetes raised, mouths hanging open like broken drawbridges.
How?
How heavy was that thing? Big Mountain whispered. At least 300 pounds, Third River said, his voice barely audible. She lifted it and threw it onto a rock. I could see it in their eyes. All 3 of them were mentally visiting our great-great-grandfather's grave, screaming, "Why did you give all the strength to her? Couldn't you have spread it around a little? Even just 10%. Stop standing there with your mouths catching flies," I said. The boar's still breathing. Let's get it home before it dies completely. Fresh meat sells better. Big Mountain shook his head. We can't take it through the village. If the neighbors see a whole wild boar, they'll expect us to throw a feast for everyone. And this pig isn't big enough to feed the whole village, so we'd have to add our own grain to make up the difference. He was right. Village politics are brutal. You show up with a prize catch and suddenly every household expects an invitation to dinner. We're generous people, but feeding 200 mouths because I punched a pig? No thank you. Then we go straight to town. Wild boar is fancy game meat. It'll sell for more than regular pork. But how do we get it to town? It's 30 miles. We don't have a cart, and if we borrow the village chief's donkey cart, everyone will know. They all looked at the enormous dead boar. Then they looked at me. I sighed, grabbed the pig by its legs, swung it up, and settled it across my shoulders like a scarf. A 300-pound, bleeding, hairy scarf. Let's go. Third River clutched his little rabbit tighter and whispered to himself, next time anyone calls my sister fat, I will yendi them. Big Mountain and Big River jogged alongside me for 30-plus miles.
Jogged.
Because my walking pace with a dead boar on my back was faster than their running pace with nothing. By the time we reached town, both of them were cramping so hard they could barely stand. Sorry, I forgot to take breaks, I said, genuinely embarrassed. I got so focused on getting a good price that I forgot normal humans need rest. We're fine, they gasped, pride preventing them from collapsing in front of their little sister. I was heading toward Fat Landlord Lou's mansion, the richest man in town, famously chunky, and the most likely person to buy a whole wild boar at a premium. Fellow big person, you know? I figured we'd understand each other. But we never made it that far because a crowd materialized around us. Old Six caught a wild boar. That thing's at least 300 pounds and she's carrying it like a backpack. I'm basically a celebrity in this town. People come from other streets specifically to see how big I am. So, yeah, everybody recognized me. And everybody had an opinion. You selling it? I'll take 2 pounds. Sorry, Brother Pooh. I'm selling it whole. Next time I catch one, I'll save you some. And then, because the universe has a twisted sense of humor, someone said, you should sell it to the county magistrate's house. They're preparing for a wedding. Dead silence.
Oh.
Sorry, old six. I didn't mean to. Yeah. The county magistrate, whose daughter stole my fiancé, who is currently pregnant with said fiancé's baby. That county magistrate. I just smiled. What else can you do when you're standing in the middle of town with a dead boar on your shoulders and someone accidentally reminds you that your ex is marrying up? At least I have the pig. You know what? Great idea, Brother Pooh. I will sell it to the county magistrate's house. Everyone stared at me like I'd lost my mind. The county magistrate, whose daughter stole my fiancé, and I'm going to show up at his back door with a dead boar on my shoulders?
Yes.
Yes, I am. Because money doesn't care about feelings, and this pig isn't going to sell itself. I marched straight to the Lee residence. The front gate was packed with fancy carriages and important people, wedding preparations everywhere. Obviously, I wasn't going through the front door. I'm a pig butcher, not a lunatic. We went around back. And who did I run into? My favorite little frenemy, Shinger. Her face went through about 7 emotions in 2 seconds. Fat girl? What are you doing here? The wedding is in 2 days. If you're here to cause trouble, relax. I'm here to sell a pig. I dropped 300 pounds of wild boar onto the ground.
Boom.
Dust cloud. The earth shook a little. Shinger's eyes nearly fell out of her skull. You caught that. Me and my cousins, I said with a humble smile that was not humble at all. She disappeared inside and came back 30 seconds later with the household manager. Plot twist. The manager was her father. No wonder this girl threw silver around like candy. Her dad runs the richest household in town. 20 taels for the whole boar, he said, eyeballing the pig. No need to weigh it. 20 taels. For one pig. My dad kills and sells a whole domestic pig and barely makes 1 tael of profit. These rich people throw money around like it's water. Deal, I said, trying very hard not to vibrate with joy. But then Shinger hit me with the bonus round. You know how to butcher it, right? Process the whole thing, and my dad will add 5 more taels. 5 taels. For 20 minutes of work. Deal. I hoisted that boar back onto my shoulders. The manager was about to call servants to help carry it, but why waste other people's energy? And marched into the kitchen courtyard like I own the place. Killing a pig is breakfast for me. I had that boar gutted, bled, cleaned, and sectioned before you could finish a cup of tea. Professional. Efficient. Devastating. Shinger, who had decided to watch from behind a fence, probably expecting me to embarrass myself, was now vomiting. Just absolutely heaving her guts out over the railing.
Dad.
Give her the money. Make her leave. Apparently little Miss Tough Girl had never actually witnessed a pig slaughter before. Welcome to my world, sweetheart. This is what pays for your fancy dresses. Before I left, Shinger told me something interesting. Remember how I warned her not to let herself be sent to the Sun household as dowry? Well, she took a creative approach. I climbed into the young master's bed, she said casually, like she was discussing the weather. Now I'm officially his concubine. No one can send me to that snake's son Chirué. She went from servant to concubine in 3 days. This girl looked at my advice and thought, why avoid the fire when I can become the fire? I had to respect the hustle, even if the strategy was terrifying. If you ever need a favor, come find me at the Lee residence, she offered. I smiled, nodded, and made a mental note to never take her up on that. Shinger is smart, ruthless, and plays chess while everyone else plays checkers. That favor would come with strings attached thicker than anchor ropes. Next time I catch a wild boar, I'm selling it to Fat Landlord Lou.
Safer that way.
My cousins were floating on clouds when we left. Big River was practically delirious. 25 taels. 25. Big Mountain, pinch me, am I dreaming? Big Mountain pinched him. Hard.
Ow.
I said pinch, not assault. I didn't go home. I didn't go to the market. I went straight to the grain shop, because silver in my pocket burns a hole faster than fire burns paper. Old six. You're back again? Didn't your family just buy a huge load of grain 2 days ago? The shop assistant was staring at me with gossip radar fully activated. Big family, big appetites. 20 pounds of fine rice, the rest in rough grain. Oh, and deliver it to Zhao Village, 30 miles west. Put it on my tab. Here's 25 taels. 25 taels of silver. Gone in 30 seconds. I didn't even blink. Easy come, easy go. And by go, I mean directly into grain that will keep my family alive if this drought gets worse. The shop assistant couldn't help himself. Hey, old six. I heard that scholar who dumped you is marrying the county magistrate's daughter. Wedding's in a couple days. Oh no. Big Mountain and Big River went from calm to volcanic in half a heartbeat. He's marrying who? So that's why they gave us 20 tails for a pig. They stole our sister's fiancé. Big River's eyes turned red. Actual red. Like a bull seeing a flag. I'm going to find him. The shop owner looked like he wanted to crawl under his own counter. His assistant had basically just lit a fuse on a family-sized bomb. Big River.
Seat.
Down. I grabbed my cousin's arm before he could storm out and commit a felony. I agreed to the breakup. It was my decision. Whoever he marries is none of our business. But we are butchers, not warriors. We don't fight officials. We fight pigs. And today we turned one pig into 25 taels of silver and a mountain of grain. That's a win. Now can we please go home before you punch a scholar and get our whole family thrown in jail? Big River was shaking. His fists were clenched, so tight his knuckles were white. But he stayed. This is why I never told my family the full story. Every single one of my cousins and brothers would march to the county magistrate's house with butcher knives if they knew the truth. They'd lose. They'd go to prison. And I'd be left alone with no family and no pig business. So I swallowed the anger and turned it into grain. 25 taels today. 100 taels yesterday. My braised meat shop opens tomorrow. Sun Shirway can marry whoever he wants. I'm building an empire, one dead pig at a time. The walk home was painfully quiet. Big Mountain and Big River were still simmering about the whole "my ex is marrying the magistrate's daughter" situation. I could practically hear their teeth grinding from 10 paces away. Tomorrow we go back into the mountain, I announced, trying to redirect their murderous energy towards something productive. If we catch something good, I'm buying a donkey cart. I'm tired of being the family transportation system. Fine, but I can't stop thinking about IT. Big River was about to explode again. Then stop thinking, I said flatly. He's a scholar. She's a magistrate's daughter. We're pig butchers. You want to fight officials? With what? A machete and strong feelings. That shut him up. For about 5 seconds. Then we'll make the kids study, Big Mountain declared, like he'd just discovered fire. We'll send them to school. They'll pass the exams, become officials, and then we'll get revenge. Revenge for what? There's no revenge to get. But yes, the kids should absolutely learn to read. Not to avenge my non-existent honor, but because you guys can't read a single character and it's a miracle nobody scammed you into selling your own houses. This is a real problem in my family. I can read a little because the old doctor in town taught me some characters, plus I picked up storytelling tricks from listening to performers. But my brothers and cousins? They could stare at a sign that says, "Danger, Cliff," and walk right off the edge smiling. Big Mountain sighed. I brought up school with Grandpa before. He said since we split into separate households, each family decides for themselves, and nobody decided because it costs money. I finished. Of course. School fees in this era are no joke. Look what happened to the Sun family. Old lady Sun sold literally everything, including their ancestral home, to put her precious son through school. And what did she get? A backstabbing grandson-in-law candidate. I'll figure out the money, I said. I'll hunt more. Absolutely not. We already split into separate houses. We can't let our little sister pay for our kids' education. Big Mountain put his foot down. And honestly, he had a point. But I filed it away for later. Once I had more silver, and the timing was right, I'd bring it up again. Big Cool Mountain was a gold mine of wild game. I just needed more trips. We dragged ourselves back to the village at sunset, and of course half the population was camped outside our gate. The grain delivery cart from town had arrived earlier, and the whole village watched it roll up to our house like it was a parade float. What's with all the grain? You buying enough for an army? It hasn't rained in a while, I said, genuinely trying to be helpful. Better safe than sorry. You all might want to stock up too. Did they listen? Little girl doesn't know what she's talking about. It's just a dry spell. The Zhao family is crazy. Wasting money on grain they don't need. Fine. I tried. When you're all starving in 3 months, don't come knocking on my door. Actually, you probably will, and that's exactly why I'm buying extra. Inside, the entire extended family was packed into the courtyard waiting for us. Get inside before you say anything, Grandpa hissed, pointing at the gate. There are more ears out there than on a cornfield. Smart man. We piled into the house, and the ants set up dinner faster than I've ever seen dishes appear. Did you really kill a wild boar? Second uncle had been dying all day. Third River had come home earlier and spilled every detail, and now second uncle was kicking himself for not coming along.
Yep.
Sold it for 20 taels, earned 5 more for butchering it, spent all 25 on grain. The fine rice is for Grandpa and Grandma. The rest gets split between first uncle and second uncle's families, half and half. The room went dead silent. Then first aunt erupted. What do you mean, split? You killed that pig. You carried it 30 miles. You sold it. That's your family's grain. She's right. Second uncle crossed his arms. Your dad's family has helped us enough already. You're farming our land for us. We're not taking your grain. I love these people. They're stubborn as mules, but their stubbornness comes from pride, not greed. Nobody in my family wants to take more than they give. We're still one family even if the household split, I said. Besides, my 4 little nieces and nephews are living here. You're feeding them, clothing them, raising them like your own. This grain doesn't even begin to cover that debt. They are our own. First uncle snapped. They're Zhao children. What debt? The argument ping-ponged around the room until Grandpa slammed his fist on the table. Enough. Moon Girl says split the grain. So split the grain. Done. Nobody argues with Grandpa. The uncles grumbled and shuffled and reluctantly accepted the grain like I was forcing poison on them. Then Grandpa leaned in close, eyes sparkling. Chubby girl. Did you really pick up a wild boar and slam it to death? Grandma immediately smacked him. Don't call her chubby girl. I just sat there eating my dinner, warm food in my belly, my whole noisy, chaotic, overprotective family arguing around me, and I thought, this is it. This is the good stuff. I don't need a scholar husband or a fancy title. I need this. Day 2 of hunting was less glorious. The problem was manpower. Specifically, too much manpower. Grandpa insisted on coming along, and once Grandpa went, everyone went. We rolled into the mountain like an invading army. Every bird, rabbit, and boar within 5 miles heard us coming and fled to the next province. Total haul, 2 scrawny rabbits and a pile of wild vegetables. I told you not to bring this many people, second uncle muttered, glaring at Grandpa. Especially Dad. His legs can barely handle flat ground, let alone a mountain. You ungrateful brat. Are you embarrassed by your own father? Grandpa picked up a stick and chased second uncle around a tree. He's 67 years old and still tries to beat his grown sons with branches. This family is a circus, and I am the ringmaster. Then I froze. Something caught my eye. A tree, not far from where we stood. Something was there, hiding, watching, waiting. What is it? Someone whispered. I stared harder. Every instinct in my body sharpened. Whatever was about to happen. I had a feeling today wasn't going to be boring after all. I spotted something behind a tree. Something big. Nobody move, I whispered. Now, here's the thing about stealth. It requires being small and quiet. I am neither of these things. My body is basically a human boulder. Sneaking, for me, is like trying to hide a wardrobe behind a curtain. The animal twitched. It was about to bolt. So, I did what any rational person would do. I launched myself at it like a flying mattress. Whumph. 300 pounds of Zhao Xingyue landed directly on top of the creature. My entire family winced in unison. Every single one of them had the same thought. Well, whatever that was, it's definitely flat now. But when the dust cleared, it was a deer. A massive buck with antlers like tree branches, still alive under me. Kicking and struggling.
A deer?
How is there a deer here? Do you know how much a live deer is worth? Way more than a wild boar. Way more. I just body slammed a small fortune. Grandpa's eyes were literally glowing. Whatever that deer sells for, it all goes to Moon Girl, obviously, second uncle muttered, pinching his own skinny arm with a look of deep regret. Clearly the secret to success is being well padded. One antler snapped off when I landed on it, and the deer was pretty banged up. But it was breathing. That's what mattered. Live deer equals premium price. Problem, it was getting dark. We couldn't waltz through the village carrying a whole deer. The gossip squad would descend like vultures, and next thing you know, the entire village would expect a venison feast. I'll run it to town right now, I offered. 30 miles? In the dark? With a deer on my back? Easy Tuesday. Absolutely not. A girl alone on the road at night? I grinned. If bandits try to rob me, I'll just kidnap the cutest one and bring him home as a husband. My entire family stared at me with trembling lips. They couldn't tell if I was joking. Honestly, neither could I. The backup plan was better. Sneak the deer to Old Man Song's house. He's the village veterinarian who lives on the edge of town, far from prying eyes. Even if someone spotted us, a vet treating an injured animal wouldn't raise suspicions. We waited until dark, then split into two teams. Half the family went home loudly to distract the village busybodies, while Big Mountain and I slipped through the shadows with the deer. The distraction team did their job perfectly. When Grandpa got home, the usual crowd was waiting. So, your whole family went hunting, and all you got was 2 rabbits. Grandpa smiled sweetly. We're butchers, not hunters. 2 rabbits is a miracle. But what about all that grain you bought? And the wild vegetables? Is the meat business really failing? These people were so hungry for bad news about us. Nothing would make them happier than watching our family crumble. Grandpa handled it like a pro, telling them just enough truth wrapped in just enough misdirection to send them home confused. We sent Moon Girl back to the village because she can't handle life without meat. You know how she eats. Ah yes, good old, blame the fat daughter strategy. I'm the family's perfect cover story. Nobody questions anything when the explanation involves my appetite. Then Third River, bless his honest little heart, got fed up with the neighbors asking about my wedding date. You're all so interested in my sister's marriage? Planning to send wedding gifts, are you? The crowd scattered instantly. Nothing clears a room of nosy villagers faster than the suggestion they might have to spend money. Meanwhile, I was scaling Old Man Song's wall with a full-grown deer on my back. What the old vet nearly had a heart attack. He was sitting in his yard grinding herbs when a giant shadow flew over his wall and landed with an earthquake. Hi, Grandpa Song. Can I park my deer here overnight? He didn't even acknowledge the fact that I'd just vaulted a wall carrying an animal twice my weight. After years of knowing the Zhao family, nothing surprises him anymore. He examined the deer with professional detachment. Badly injured. Broken antler. This one won't make it. My heart sank. A live deer could sell for 100 taels. Dead? Just meat money. You telling me this thing that I body slammed, carried down a mountain, and snuck across a village is going to die? I mean, yes. You crushed most of its ribs. Big Mountain glared at him. You couldn't have led with some good news first. Old Man Song stroked his greasy, tangled beard, the kind of beard that looks like it hasn't met soap in a decade, and said, I can't save it.
But
I can teach you how to sell it properly. I perked up. Sell it? I know how to sell meat. I've been doing it since I was 10. You want 1 pound? I'll cut exactly 1 pound. Not a gram more, not a gram less. My knife skills are... Who said anything about selling it as meat? He looked at me like I was the dumbest person alive. Do you know what a deer's male parts are worth? Do you know what deer antler velvet sells for? Do you have any idea what rich old men will pay for deer blood? I stared at him. He stared at me. Slowly, a whole new world of profitable deer anatomy opened up before my eyes. I had been thinking like a butcher, chop it up, sell the pieces, done. But this old man was thinking like a pharmacist. Every part of this deer was worth more than I imagined, and I'd been about to slice it up like pork chops. Grandpa Song, I said reverently, please teach me everything. Selling meat, it turns out, is an entire science that I've been completely ignorant of for my entire life. Old Man Song started listing off deer parts like a shopping catalog. The deer whip alone is worth 20 taels to fat landlord Lou. Deer whip? You mean the tail? I kicked the deer's tail experimentally. Lou likes eating tails? I guess that explains why he's so. It's not the tail. Old man Song's face turned the color of a beet. He was scratching his ears, pulling his hair, looking everywhere except at me, apparently explaining certain male deer anatomy to a teenage girl was beyond his comfort zone. You know what? Just forget it. Come back early tomorrow morning, and I'll handle that part myself. Fair enough. Moving on. What about deer antler velvet? Would I ask that? It's the antlers, girl. The antler broke when I landed on him. Broken doesn't matter. Take it to the pharmacy in town. Should still fetch 10 taels. I stared at this scraggly, unwashed old hermit with new eyes. This man was a genius. A financial genius disguised as a man whose beard looked like it had been dipped in cooking oil and left to air dry for a decade. The tangles had tangles. I could smell it from 3 feet away. But his knowledge? Priceless. How is this man single and broke? He knew how to turn one dead animal into a small fortune, yet he lived alone in a crumbling house at the edge of the village with no wife, no family, and apparently no soap. Life is truly unfair sometimes. I kept poking and prodding the deer, trying to figure out where all these magical money parts were located. Old man Song nearly had a stroke. Stop touching it. You're going to snap its neck with those hands. It's barely alive as it is. If it dies in this heat, the meat goes bad and nobody gets paid. Fine, I'm leaving. Yes.
Leave.
I don't serve dinner. We hadn't even asked for dinner.
Rude.
After we left, I'm pretty sure the old man secretly fed the deer some medicine. I know because when I came back in the morning, the deer looked slightly less dead than when I'd left it. That pill probably cost him money he didn't have. He'd never admit it, but underneath all that grease and crankiness, Old Man Song has a soft spot for our family. Back at home, the smell of rabbit stew hit me the second I walked through the gate. Grandpa demanded I start cooking immediately. Grandma grumbled, stoking the fire.
And he wants wine with it.
At this hour, when will we ever eat? She was complaining, but her face was glowing. That's the thing about Grandma. Her mouth says one thing, her face says another. Are you hungry, baby? There are eggs in the cabinet. I saved them for you. Grandma peeked outside to make sure the grandkids weren't watching, then pulled out 2 precious eggs. Eggs are gold in this house. The family has maybe 2 chickens, and with a dozen great-grandchildren running around, eggs disappear faster than morning dew. The little monsters literally stalk the chickens, waiting for them to lay. I peeled the eggs, broke them in half, and shoved them into Grandma's mouth. What are you? Grandma, look at me. Do I look like I need more nutrition? People already call me a walking mountain. You eat the eggs. She chewed with tears in her eyes, scolding me between bites. You silly child. These were for you. But she was smiling. And that smile was worth more than 100 deer. Being fat is a blessing, Grandma declared firmly. Why do you think all the Buddhist statues are fat? Fat people have fortune. Those skinny people who make fun of you? They're just unlucky and jealous. I love this woman with every ounce of my very considerable body weight. First, Aunt marched in carrying a basket the size of a bathtub, filled with grain cakes. Our family eats 1 entire basket per meal, and that's not counting the porridge and wild vegetables on the side. We need more grain, I muttered, watching the mountain of food that was about to vanish into hungry mouths.
Stop worrying.
Children who worry too much grow up to be. First, Aunt caught herself mid-sentence. She was about to say short, but I'm taller than her by a full head. Grow up to be, fat? I finished helpfully. So that's why I keep gaining weight. It's the worrying. If I just stop caring about everything, I'll slim right down. Exactly. She pointed at me like I'd cracked the code. I will not, in fact, be slimming down. But it's nice to have an excuse. Meanwhile, the aunts had been doing reconnaissance on the husband front. Results were discouraging. First aunt's report. Every boy near Moon Girl's age in my hometown is already married. The younger ones are all engaged. There's one widower, but I'd rather eat dirt than let her marry him. Second aunt's report, delivered with maximum awkwardness. My brother's grandson is 11 years old. I already told my brother the boy could marry Moon Girl. The room went silent. 11. Grandma nearly fell off her stool. He's a child. You want Moon Girl to marry a child. It's just a temporary fix. First Aunt jumped in, suddenly a fan of the idea. We fake the wedding, fool the government, and deal with the real marriage later. The government isn't stupid, Grandma snapped. What 11-year-old boy is getting married? They'd see through it in 5 seconds. Then what do we do? I'm so stressed I've got blisters in my mouth. First Aunt pulled her lip down to show everyone her mouth ulcers. Nobody wanted to see that. Our Moon Girl is blessed, Grandma said with steel in her voice. I refuse to believe she can't find a husband. If all else fails, Second Aunt whispered with frightening determination, we do what Moon Girl suggested. We grab one. Nobody is grabbing anyone. Grandma stirred the fire aggressively.
If it comes down to it.
We'll buy a man. Then she paused, staring into the flames, and quietly added, maybe I should go to the temple and burn incense for Buddha. We're all fat in this family. Buddha should relate. Maybe he'll send us a good match. I almost choked on my water. My grandmother is literally trying to use our family's collective body weight as a negotiating tool with the divine. Dinner was late. The latest in the village, probably, but it was worth the wait. The kids went feral over the rabbit meat, fighting over every scrap, singing praises to Grandma's cooking between bites. Thank you, Great-Grandma. You're the best cook. Don't butter me up, you little demons. Your auntie caught those rabbits. When you grow up, you'd better treat her like a queen. Grandma's smile never quite reached her eyes, though. She was still carrying the weight of my marriage deadline, and it was crushing her. I ruffled the nearest kid's hair. Tell you what, Andy will buy you all candy tomorrow. You're going to town again. Of course I am. I've got a deer full of mystery body. Parts worth a fortune, a greasy old veterinarian waiting to dissect it, and 29 days to find a husband before the government assigns me to some random widower. Sleep can wait. Dawn hadn't even properly broken when Big Mountain and I hopped over Old Man Song's wall. Do you two not know how to use a door? You're built like a wardrobe and you're scaling walls? One day you'll get stuck up there, and I'll laugh myself to death. Inside his yard, the old man had been busy all night. He'd barely slept. Everything sellable had been carefully extracted, separated, and packaged. The deer was now less of an animal and more of a disassembled business plan. Here, he said, shoving containers at us. Deer whip in this jar. Antler velvet sliced and bagged. Deer blood, half a bucket. The rest is just meat. Deal with it yourself. I reached for the jar. Let me see what a deer whip looks. Smack. He slapped my hand away so fast I barely saw it move. A deer whip is not for young ladies to inspect. He shoved the jar into Big Mountain's arms instead. You carry this. Keep it away from her. Don't let her open it. Don't let her touch it. Get it to the buyer while it's still fresh. Go. I still had no idea what was in that jar. Everyone was acting like it contained state secrets. What part of a deer could possibly be this scandalous? While they were fussing over the mystery jar, I grabbed a knife and, thwack, cut the entire rear end off the deer in one clean stroke. Old Man Song jumped 3 feet. What are you doing? Payment, I said, dropping a massive deer butt at his feet. For all your help, he stared at it. It was enormous. Probably 40 pounds of pure deer rump. I'm one person. How am I supposed to eat this much? Are you trying to kill me? And why the butt? I don't even like butt. Sorry, Grandpa Song. Butcher's cut where the knife falls. And the knife fell on the butt. Also, can I borrow your cart? I was already loading the deer meat onto it as I asked. His lip twitched. He hadn't said yes. But the cart was already moving. That's the beauty of asking questions while simultaneously doing the thing you're asking permission for. Just go before the meat spoils. Big Mountain climbed onto the cart, hugging the mystery jar with both arms, clamping the antler velvet bags under his armpits, and wedging the blood bucket between his legs. He looked like the world's most uncomfortable statue. Hold on, I grabbed the cart handles and sprinted. Full speed. 30 miles of road disappeared under my feet like I was being chased by wolves. Behind us, Old Man Song watched the dust cloud and muttered something about our family, having something special. Then he looked down at the deer butt, sighed deeply, and carried it to our family's house. 40 pounds of rump, one painful step at a time. In town, I skidded to a stop at fat landlord Lou's mansion just as the front gates were opening. The servant boy saw me and immediately tried to FLE. Get back here. The poor kid was trembling. Apparently, I'd punched him once, just once, and he developed a permanent fear response. Every time he saw me, his legs went soft like noodles. Tell your master, I have a deer whip. If he wants it, he should come out now. Deer whip? B but you're a girl, and master isn't awake yet. The sun is halfway across the sky, and he's still in bed? That man is lazier than a pig after. Who's lazier than a pig? Fat landlord Lou came rolling out of his gate like a cannonball. This man has a sixth sense for insults, and for deer whips, apparently. He was still in his sleeping clothes, hair everywhere, but his eyes were sharp. Here's the thing about me and Lou. We're frenemies. Fellow fat people. Kindred spirits of largeness. He insults me, I insult him, and somehow we've developed a genuine friendship built entirely on mutual roasting and meat transactions. I have deer whip.
Fresh.
Want it? I want it. Butler. 10 tails for the girl. Hold on. My family doctor said it's worth at least 30. His face contorted like he'd swallowed a lemon. Big Mountain was watching this negotiation with visible pain, clutching the mystery jar and clearly wishing he was anywhere else. What followed was 10 minutes of the most aggressive haggling this town has ever witnessed. I started at 30. He started at 10. We screamed numbers at each other like it was an auction run by lunatics. 20, 15, 28, 18, 27, and that's final. 27 tails. The old man's face looked like someone was pulling his teeth out with pliers, but he paid. Fat girl, in the future, you bring all your deer whips to me. Do not sell this stuff anywhere else. People will laugh at you, a girl's selling that. What do you mean laugh? It's a business transaction. If anyone laughs at me, I'll rearrange their facial structure. I was still craning my neck trying to peek inside the jar. What was in there? Everyone treated it like radioactive material. Every time I reached for it, someone slapped my hand away. Stop looking, Lou barked, clutching the jar protectively. Now give me some of that deer blood. Money first. You're the stingiest person I've ever met, and you're the second fattest. Pay up. He bought the blood for 2 tails. I threw in 5 pounds of deer meat as a bonus, because Old Man Song told me the meat was the least valuable part. Easy generosity, when the deer was essentially free. You know, with your business brain, you'd go bankrupt in a week running a real shop, Lou said, shaking his head. Then his eyes got that twinkle. The dangerous twinkle. By the way, I heard you got dumped. Wanna come be my concubine? The offer still stands. I've always said, a fat wife is a happy life. This man asks me to be his concubine at least once a season. He's old enough to be my father, has 4 wives already, and his idea of romance is offering me a discount on pork. But I'll give him this, he's consistent. Lou, the day I become anyone's concubine is the day pigs fly. And I would know because I've thrown plenty of pigs and not one of them has developed aviation capabilities. 29 tails of silver in one morning.
From a deer I sat on.
I still don't know what a deer whip is, and at this point, I'm afraid to ask. Fat landlord Lou literally ran from me. This grown man, who outweighs most furniture, sprinted away like a startled rabbit screaming, "Close the gates. Close the gates," because I rejected his concubine offer too aggressively. Big Mountain was genuinely distressed. Sister, you can't become anyone's concubine. We need to speed up the husband kidnapping plan. Relax, Big Mountain. He's just being a pest. Now help me sell this deer before it rots. I pushed the cart through town yelling, "Deer blood. Fresh deer blood." Like it was the most normal thing in the world, which for me it kind of is. Yesterday it was pork. Today it's deer blood. Tomorrow? Who knows? Bear gallbladder? Tiger teeth? The entrepreneurial possibilities are endless when you can body slam wildlife. And then SHE appeared. Old Lady Sun, my ex-fiancé's mother. The woman who bounced off my body and landed in pig manure 3 days ago. She came waddling over with the biggest bowl I've ever seen, demanding free deer blood. 2 tails of silver per bowl, I said. 2 tails? You thief. Then no blood for you. Next customer, please. Just fill my bowl now and I'll pay you later. Later. This woman has owed my family for 6 years. Her definition of later is the heat death of the universe. I could see the scheme spinning behind her eyes like a hamster wheel. She had zero intention of paying. Not one copper coin. Not ever. Who are you calling a fat pig? Big Mountain stepped in front of me like a bodyguard. He'd been waiting for a Sun family member to show up. His fists were already clenched. Old Lady Sun saw the murder in his eyes, hugged her empty bowl, and fled down the street at a speed I didn't know she was capable of. She may be cheap, but her survival instincts are top tier. After that entertainment, I had a decision to make. The deer blood wouldn't keep. Rich people had already bought the expensive stuff. Now I needed to move the rest fast. 2 copper coins per bowl. Come and get it. People went insane. They ran home for bowls, cups, pots, anything that could hold liquid. Deer blood is considered super nutritious, and at 2 coppers, it was basically free. Within minutes, I was surrounded. Old Dr. Chen, the man who taught me to read, came shuffling over with his own bowl, eyes wide. Child, are you stupid? This is deer blood. It's medicinal. You're selling it for pocket change. Dr. Grandpa, these are my neighbors. Let them have something good for once. I filled his bowl to the brim and cut him a huge slab of deer meat on top of it. He tried to refuse, but I shoved it into his hands. Consider it a deposit. We're coming to your pharmacy next to sell deer antler velvet. His eyes sparkled. Old Dr. Chun has always been good to me, and I always pay my debts. In meat, if necessary. The antler velvet sold for 16 taels at his shop. I knew he overpaid to help me out, so I left him a pile of deer bones for medicinal soup. Fair is fair. Final tally from one deer that I SAT on, 40 plus taels of silver.
40.
My eyes were glowing so bright Big Mountain probably thought I was possessed. Hunting was more profitable than butchering. Way more. One morning in the mountains beat a month at the meat stall. I am never looking at a pig the same way again. We're not buying grain today, I announced. We're going to the black market. Big Mountain's eyes lit up. We're buying a husband. We're buying a donkey. His face fell so hard it nearly hit the ground. The black market is basically a livestock bazaar that also sells humans. Very casual. Donkeys on the left, slaves on the right, goats in the middle. Just your average Tuesday shopping experience. Big Mountain kept trying to steer me toward the human section. Sister, the men are over there. I know where the men are. I want the donkey. Here's the thing. My feet were killing me. 2 days of sprinting 30 miles with dead animals on my back had finally caught up with me. I had blisters on blisters. My soles felt like I'd been walking on hot coals. I might have superhuman strength, but my feet are unfortunately still made of regular human skin. Plus, Dad had wanted a donkey for years. He walks miles every day to buy pigs from farmers, then walks miles back. A donkey cart would change his life. And right now, with silver burning a hole in my pocket, there was no better time. 18 taels for the donkey and a cart, the seller said. Done. Big Mountain nearly fainted. 18 taels? Shouldn't we ask Uncle first? My dad's been dreaming about this donkey for 5 years. If I show up with it, he'll cry happy tears. Trust me, we drove the cart out of the market, Big Mountain at the reins, looking like he'd accidentally stolen government property. The poor man was convinced Dad would skin him alive for letting me spend 18 taels without permission. What if Uncle gets angry? He won't get angry at me. I'm his baby girl. He'll get angry at you for not stopping me. So let's say he bought the donkey. That's dishonest. That's survival, Big Mountain. On the way through town, we ran straight into Fifth Brother, who was delivering meat to a restaurant. He saw the donkey cart, then the leftover deer meat, then my grinning face, and his brain simply short-circuited. Where did? How did? Is that a donkey? And deer meat? And the donkey is a gift for Dad. Here's some deer meat and bones for the family. I'll explain later. Gotta go. I kicked the donkey on the butt. It panicked and bolted. We disappeared down the road in a cloud of dust, leaving Fifth Brother standing in the street, clutching a bag of deer bones, staring at the horizon with the expression of a man whose reality had been fundamentally altered. Behind me, I heard him yell, Did she catch a deer? She's rich. Dad. 40 taels earned. 18 spent on a donkey. The rest earmarked for grain. And somewhere in this town, fat landlord Lou was behind locked gates, clutching a mysterious jar whose contents I still haven't been allowed to see, while old lady Sun was at home nursing her bruised ego and empty bowl. Another productive day in the life of Zhao Xingyue. Deer hunter, blood merchant, donkey purchaser, and the most feared fat girl in the province. Having a donkey cart is life-changing. I sat on that thing like a queen on her throne, wind in my hair, not a single blister forming on my feet, just vibes. This is what rich people feel like every day. No wonder they're always smiling. But the universe apparently decided I was having too good a day, because there in the middle of the road sat a dozen young men, blocking the entire path, like human speed bumps. Big Mountain stopped the cart. Big Mountain yanked the reins, but he'd been driving a donkey for approximately 20 minutes of his life, so his braking technique was more panic screaming than smooth deceleration. I squinted at the roadblock. Town thugs. Every single one of them. They'd followed me from Fat Lou's mansion, watched me sell the deer parts, and now they wanted my silver. Hand over the money, big fatty. Okay, first of all, big fatty, at least be creative with your insults. Second of all, you just watched me carry a 300-pound deer across town on my shoulders and you thought, yes, let's rob her? What part of that visual suggested I was an easy target? I don't have any money, I said calmly, still sitting on the cart, scanning the lineup. And then a thought hit me like lightning. They were men. A dozen of them.
Young.
Unmarried looking.
Just.
Sitting there. Like a buffet. I looked at Big Mountain. Big Mountain looked at me. We shared a single, beautiful, terrifying thought.
Men, I whispered.
Big Mountain's eyes went wide. Then they went narrow. Then he grinned, jumped off the cart, and charged straight at the thugs like a one-man cavalry unit. The thugs were confused. They expected begging, crying, maybe some negotiation. Not a guy sprinting at them with the energy of a man who just realized his little sister's husband shortage could be solved right here, right now. Get him, the leader yelled. They all rushed Big Mountain, which meant they all turned their backs to me. Mistake. I jumped off the cart and went to work. One punch per thug. Bonk, 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 bonk. Like whack-a-mole but with real people. They dropped faster than rice prices during harvest season. Then, because I am nothing if not efficient, I untied all their belt sashes and used my signature pig-tying knots to string them together, like a chain of sausages. 12 men, 1 rope of belts, 0 dignity remaining. Big Mountain stared at the human daisy chain writhing on the ground and whispered with genuine awe, "Sister is truly a warrior among warriors." I examined my catch. Lined them up. Evaluated the merchandise. Big Mountain. They're all really ugly. They were. Even before I punched them, they weren't winning any beauty contests. After the beating, they looked like someone had drawn faces on potatoes and then stepped on the potatoes. Big Mountain shrugged.
Well.
It's dark at night. You can't see faces in the dark. I stared at my brother.
He stared at me.
He was genuinely suggesting I marry one of these beaten, tied-up thugs based on the logic that nighttime eliminates ugliness. The thugs, meanwhile, had figured out what was happening. And they were terrified. Wait, what are you planning? I have a wife. I have a wife and kids. My child can already run to the store by himself. I'm very married. I have 3 children, 12 men, all suddenly claiming to be happily married family men. Funny how that works. 5 minutes ago, they were hardened criminals. Now they were devoted husbands and fathers, practically reciting their wedding vows from the ground. You're all married? I asked suspiciously.
Yes.
Every single one. Please let us go. One guy, Wang Irma, the leader, was literally offering me all his money. Take everything I have. Just please don't take me. Another one. I have silver too. A third. I don't have silver, but I have copper coins. Take them. Take them all. They were paying me to not marry them. Let that sink in. These men would rather go broke than become my husband. They were genuinely more afraid of being married to me than of being robbed. I looked at the pile of coins and silver at my feet. Then I looked at the terrified sausage chain of men. You know what?
Fine.
Today's profit margin just increased and my dignity is, well, it was never that fragile to begin with. Get out of here. But if one word of this gets back to town, if anyone hears that I tried to kidnap a husband on the road, I will turn every single one of you into pork products. We swear. We swear on everything. Great. Now untie yourselves. We can't. The knots get tighter when we pull. Sounds like a you problem. I scooped up the silver, hopped back on the donkey cart. The poor donkey stumbled under my weight but recovered like a champ, and we rolled away. What I didn't see, but absolutely wish I had, was the aftermath. See, I tied them with their own belt sashes, the things holding up their pants. So when they tried to walk home, they had to hold up the pants of the person in front of them while their own pants fell down. The last guy in the chain had it worst. One hand holding up the guy ahead's pants, one hand holding his own, head down staring at things he didn't want to see, face level with places he didn't want to be. They shuffled back to town like the world's most humiliating parade. Big Mountain drove in thoughtful silence for a while. Then, I don't think they were all really married. Obviously not. They lied because they'd rather be single forever than marry me. That stung a little, I won't lie. Being so terrifying that criminals pay you to go away is great for business, but terrible for romance. Then I spotted something in the fading light. Tombstones.
Trees. A familiar hillside.
Big Mountain, is that our family graveyard? Yeah. Why? Pull over. I need to talk to great-great-grandpa. About what? It's not a holiday. You can't just show up at the ancestral graves on a random Tuesday. I'm going to ask him to send me a husband. I've tried everything else, selling meat, catching deer, beating up thugs. Nothing's working. Maybe the dead have better connections. Big Mountain stared at me. You want to show great-great-grandpa the donkey cart too? Yes. Our family has been poor for generations. Let the old man see we finally have a donkey cart. He can brag about it in the afterlife. Big Mountain sighed the sigh of a man who stopped questioning reality several days ago. We pulled the donkey cart up to the family cemetery so our deceased ancestor could admire our new vehicle, and I knelt down to have a serious conversation with a tombstone about my love life. This is where I'm at. Negotiating marriage prospects with the dead. 28 days left. Great-great-grandpa, please.
Send me a man.
I'm begging you. There I was, kneeling at the ancestral grave, having a full negotiation with a tombstone. Big Mountain was standing behind me, mouth twitching, probably questioning every life choice that led him to this moment. Great-great-grandpa, we bought a donkey cart. Isn't that exciting? You can brag about it in the afterlife. But more importantly, I'm turning 18, and if I don't find a husband, the government will assign me to some random old man. Maybe someone like Old Man Song the veterinarian. You want that for your favorite granddaughter? A greasy, beardless. If you don't send me a man, I swear I'll crash. Something fell out of the tree next to the grave. Something human-shaped. Something bleeding. Great-great-grandpa answered. Big Mountain grabbed his chest and nearly passed out. The man is brave enough to charge at wild boars, but apparently draws the line at mysterious bodies falling from cemetery trees. I sprinted over and scooped the man up. And
oh my.
Even covered in blood, even half dead, even looking like he'd been through a meat grinder. This man was gorgeous. Beautiful eyebrows. Perfect nose. Lips like they were sculpted by an artist. And his body, underneath all the wounds and blood, was lean, strong, the complete opposite of every man I'd ever met in this town. Great-great-grandpa, I appreciate the gesture, but did you have to send me a dying one? How is this fair? I examined his injuries. Sword cuts, blade wounds, deep ones. This wasn't some farmer who fell off a roof. Someone had tried very hard to turn this man into several smaller pieces, which meant whoever he was dangerous. And whoever did this to him was probably more dangerous. My brain started spinning. Good-looking stranger covered in weapon wounds, hiding in a cemetery tree in the middle of nowhere? This was either a blessing or a catastrophe. Maybe both. He's going to bleed out, Big Mountain said, going pale. Should we dig a hole and bury him here? We can't bury a stranger in our family plot. That's ancestral sacrilege. Then what? Old man song. He's a veterinarian. So? What's the difference between a human and an animal? They both have blood, bones, and organs. Let's go. I loaded the dying man onto the donkey cart like he was a sack of particularly handsome grain. Big Mountain looked like he wanted to cry, scream, and faint simultaneously. We raced to Old Man Song's house. He wasn't there. Of course, he wasn't there. The one time I need a doctor, even a fake animal doctor, and he's off somewhere treating someone's goat or whatever. Home, I said through gritted teeth. We take him home. Big Mountain chased me with the donkey cart as I sprinted through the village carrying a bloody, unconscious man in my arms. I may have been slightly unhinged at this point. The village gossip committee was, naturally, assembled at our front gate. Moon Girl. Is that a person? Who is that? My man, I announced without breaking stride. Got kicked by a donkey. Move. I blew through the crowd like a cannonball. Several thinner bystanders nearly got knocked over by my wake. A donkey kicked him? Which donkey? How? The one on the cart. Now stop asking questions. I barreled into the house screaming for help, and who should emerge from our kitchen? Greasy beard, stained apron, mouth full of deer rump, but Old Man Song himself. He'd been at our house this whole time, eating my deer butt. While I was racing around the countryside looking for him. Who got kicked by a donkey, he said, cheeks still full of meat. Him. Save him. Now, one look at the man's injuries and Song's entire demeanor changed. The lazy, sarcastic old hermit vanished. In his place stood someone sharp, focused, and deadly serious. Get him inside. Now. Outside, the situation was pure comedy. Big Mountain arrived with the donkey cart and was immediately swarmed. Big Mountain. Is that Moon Girl's husband? He got kicked by that donkey. He's... My great-great-grandfather sent him. What? Inside, Grandpa was spinning in circles like a top. That man cannot die in our house. We'll be investigated. We'll go to jail. Grandma was praying. If great-great-grandpa truly sent him, why is he broken? The old man needs to work on his delivery system. Second uncle was pulling his hair out. Great-great-grandpa really dropped the ball on this one. Everyone shut up, Grandpa roared, though he himself had zero useful ideas. In the room, Old Man Song was stripping the mystery man's clothes off and examining the wounds. I leaned in to look. Out, Song barked. But I need to supervise. What if you accidentally, if you want him alive, you will leave this room immediately. He'd never spoken to me like that before. Not once. His voice was steel. Whatever he was about to do, he didn't want witnesses. I stepped out and did the next best thing. Blocked the entire doorway with my body. Nobody was getting past me. Not family, not neighbors, not gravity itself. Inside, Old Man Song did something I never expected. He pulled out a tiny bottle from inside his coat. Not animal medicine. Not herb paste. A bottle of small, pink pills, the kind of medicine a village vet should not have. He fed one to the dying man. Then he pulled out silver acupuncture needles and began working every major pressure point with the precision of someone who had done this thousands of times before. This was not veterinary medicine. Old Man Song was not a veterinarian. Or, at least, he wasn't just a veterinarian. He leaned close to the man's ear and spoke quietly. I know you're awake. Don't bother pretending. The man's eyelid twitched. Moon Girl says you're a gift from her great-great-grandfather. I don't believe that for a second. Your wounds tell me you're someone important and someone dangerous. Silence. Another eyelid twitch. But I don't care who you are. If you harm the Zhao family, if you hurt Moon Girl, I will make sure you regret ever falling out of that tree. He continued stitching wounds with steady hands. Here's the deal. You marry Moon Girl. Just for 1 year. After 1 year, I cure the cold poison in your blood, yes, I can see it, and we stage your death. You leave. She adopts a son. Everyone wins. She doesn't actually need you. She just needs the government to see a husband on paper. 1 year, then you're free.
Think of it as rent.
For saving your life. The man's fingers twitched against the bed. Old Man Song smiled. The kind of smile that suggested he'd played chess games far more complicated than this one. And outside the door, I stood guard, completely unaware that my greasy fake veterinarian grandfather figure was negotiating my marriage to an unconscious assassin who fell out of a cemetery tree. Great-great-grandpa, if you're listening, next time, maybe include an instruction manual with the man you send? Grandpa Song, is my man going to live or not? I was staring at the mystery man lying on the bed like a beautiful corpse. His face was whiter than tofu. He hadn't moved. He hadn't blinked. If I couldn't see his chest barely rising, I'd have started digging. Relax. When Song Grandpa operates, even a king of hell sends patients back. He'll be fine. Definitely alive in time for your wedding. Old Man Song said this while gnawing on a deer leg and slurping wine, looking more like a happy beggar at a feast than a medical professional who just performed emergency surgery. But I had to admit, the dying man who'd been leaking blood like a broken barrel was now breathing steadily. Whatever Song did in that room, it worked, which raised some serious questions about who this village veterinarian actually was. But that's a problem for future me. The current problem was getting medicine into my unconscious future husband. The medicine's ready, First Aunt announced, holding a bowl and staring at the man's clenched jaw. But his mouth is locked shut like a clam. How do we get it in? Old Man Song, being the absolute menace that he is, grinned his greasy grin and said, "Easy. Have Moon Girl feed him mouth to mouth. They're getting married anyway, might as well get a head start. How about you kiss him mouth to mouth?" I shot back. "I'm just saying, at your age, finding a man this handsome is a miracle. Strike while the iron's hot. Cook the rice before it." My brothers physically lifted him out of the room and deposited him in the main hall before he could finish that sentence.
Good.
One more word, and I would have fed him medicine mouth to mouth. Through his ear. "Let me handle it," I said, rolling up my sleeves. "I'll just pry his jaw open. I've never met a pig whose mouth I couldn't crack." "Wait." Third River threw himself between me and the bed. "This man is supposed to be your husband. If you use pig jaw technique on him, he won't have any teeth left." Fair point. I might have miscalibrated. Big Mountain took the medicine bowl from me with the gentle authority of someone defusing a bomb. "We'll figure out the feeding. You and Auntie go eat." I was banished from medical duty and sent to the dinner battlefield instead. And what a battlefield it was. Old Man Song had planted himself at the table like a greasy oak tree, his oily claws targeting every premium piece of deer meat with sniper precision. I watched him reach for a particularly gorgeous chunk of loin. I snatched it first. "Hey, that was mine. Grandpa, you eat this one," I said sweetly, placing the meat in my actual grandfather's bowl. Then I grabbed 3 more pieces and distributed them to my brothers and sisters-in-law's tables. "Heartless. Absolutely heartless," Song wailed, waving his greasy hands in the air like a tragedy actor. Grandpa just laughed. He'd known this old man for 15 years, and apparently this was standard Song behavior. After dinner, Song stood up with a sigh that seemed to come from somewhere very deep.
Well.
Time to go home. Something about the way he said it made my chest hurt. The whole evening he'd been alive, laughing, fighting over meat, arguing with everyone. Now, looking at the door, he seemed to deflate. Like all the air went out of him. He was going back to 3 crumbling walls, a straw pillow, and absolute silence. Go home? Who said you could go home? My man needs round-the-clock medical supervision. But boys, go to Song Grandpa's house and pack his things. He's moving into our spare rooms. Tonight. The old man's eyes went wide. Now wait your house is held together by prayers and termites. If it collapses and kills you, who's going to save my husband? You're moving in. Final answer. He started protesting. Weakly. The kind of protest where your mouth says no, but your eyes are begging, please. My cousins mobilized like a military unit. 20 minutes later, they'd emptied his entire house. Which didn't take long because the man owned approximately 1 pile of herbs, 1 rotting blanket, which I threw directly into the trash, and 1 pillow made of straw, which I stuffed into the cooking fire. That was my bed. That was a health hazard. You're getting a real blanket tonight. He sputtered. He complained. He called me heartless, ungrateful, and bossy. But when we set him up in the spare room next to the mystery man, and he heard the sounds of children playing outside and family voices through the walls, his complaints got quieter and quieter until they stopped entirely. I told him I put him next to the patient so he could monitor the injuries overnight. The real reason? A man who's been alone for 15 years shouldn't spend one more night in silence when there's a perfectly good noisy family right here. He thought I didn't notice the way he looked around the room, at the clean bedding, the solid walls, the oil lamp someone had already lit for him, like a stray dog who'd been brought indoors for the first time and couldn't quite believe the floor wasn't going to disappear. I noticed. As for my mystery man, whoever he actually was, by dawn he opened his eyes. The first thing he saw was Old Man Song's face hovering 2 inches from his own. Greasy beard, tangled hair, unwashed everything. Eyes that looked like marble stuck in a walnut. If I'd woken up to that face, I would have closed my eyes and chosen death. But apparently this guy had nerves of steel because he didn't even flinch. Just stared back at the human disaster leaning over him like it was the most normal thing in the world. Whoever you are, Mr. Cemetery Tree Man, you're tougher than I thought. Now please don't die. I have a wedding to plan and absolutely zero backup grooms. Old Man Song had already handled the negotiations before I even walked in. I found out later he'd basically told the mystery man, marry the girl, stay 1 year, I'll cure your poison, then you fake your death and leave. Take it or leave it. And the man took it. His name was Shun Chiheng. At least, that's what he said his name was. Song Grandpa didn't seem to care if it was real or fake, and honestly neither did I. He could have said his name was Emperor Dragon Phoenix III, and I'd have said, cool, can you hold a pen long enough to sign a marriage certificate? I walked into the room carrying a bowl of meat porridge for my patient/future husband, and the first thing I noticed was, he was awake, eyes open,
Alive. Looking at me.
and the first thing he noticed was apparently that I blocked out the entire sun. I saw it happen in real time. His eyes tracked upward, and upward, and upward, taking in the full scope of me. Then something behind those gorgeous eyes just went dark, like a candle being snuffed out, like his soul briefly left his body, assessed the situation, and considered not coming back. Yeah, buddy, I'm your fiancé.
Surprise.
But credit where it's due. He recovered fast. Didn't scream. Didn't cry. Didn't ask to be put back in the tree. That's more composure than most men show when they see me for the first time. Meanwhile, Old Man Song snatched my porridge, the porridge I made for my dying husband, and drank the entire bowl in one gulp. That was for him. Your man, all you talk about is your man. Already forgetting the grandfather who saved him. He burped contentedly. You two chat.
Bond.
I'm going to go discuss wedding dates with your grandpa. He strolled out and closed the door behind him. Very smooth, very deliberate, like a matchmaker who smelled of rendered animal fat. So there we were, me and the most beautiful man I'd ever seen, alone, in a room. Him lying flat on a bed because he couldn't move, me standing there casting a shadow large enough to cool the entire house. I decided to be honest. What else could I be? Look, I know I don't match you. I have eyes. I own a mirror, a small one, but still.
You're.
That, I gestured at his stupidly perfect face, and I'm this. I gestured at all of me, which took a while. He said nothing, just watched me with those dark, unreadable eyes, probably calculating how much food I consumed daily. But here's the deal. I'm turning 18, I got dumped, and the government will force marry me to some random old man if I don't find a husband fast. So I need you. Just for 1 year, still silence. My family kills pigs for a living. We have meat. I also hunt. I body slammed a deer yesterday, so food won't be a problem. I can absolutely provide for you. His expression didn't change, but I swear one eyebrow twitched slightly. Your name is Chiheng, so you're probably the 7th kid in your family. Big family. I might need to feed them too, but only for a year, so that's manageable. At this point, I was basically giving a business presentation to a mute investor. After 1 year, I'll adopt my nephew as my son. You stage your death however you want. I recommend drowning. Very dramatic, hard to verify, and then you're free. I never chase men. I never beg. I'm a 1-year rental wife. Terms are non-negotiable. He finally spoke. One word. Okay. I blinked. You agree? Just like that. You saved my life. I have nothing to repay you with. He paused, and something in his expression suggested he was physically nauseated by what he was about to say. That accept myself. Wow. Repaying a life debt with marriage. That's either incredibly noble or incredibly desperate. Given that he was currently unable to lift his own head, I was betting on desperate. Listen, if you really don't want to do this, I have a backup plan. There's a bandit camp on Yuheng Mountain. I figured I'd raid it, grab the least ugly one, and drag him home. His eyes went wide. For the first time since waking up, genuine emotion crossed that perfect face. It was fear. That will not be necessary. You sure? Because I'm very confident I could. I am completely sure. I will marry you. Please do not raid any bandit camps, smart man. He realized that if I went bandit shopping and found a better deal, nobody would be left to cure his poison. Self-preservation is a powerful motivator. Great. I clapped my hands together. He flinched slightly at the sound, probably worried I'd accidentally generate a shockwave. Then it settled. I'm going hunting now.
Stay in bed.
Eat whatever Grandma gives you. If you feel sick, yell for Song Grandpa. If Song Grandpa is eating and ignoring you, yell louder. I bounced out of that room with a spring in my step I hadn't felt in weeks. Was this how I imagined finding a husband? Absolutely not. Was he marrying me out of love? Obviously not. Was he half dead, full of mysterious poison, covered in sword wounds, and almost certainly some kind of fugitive? 100% yes. But you know what? He said yes. He agreed. No more begging tombstones. No more evaluating tied-up thugs. No more second aunt suggesting I marry her 11-year-old nephew. I had a groom. A gorgeous, broken, probably dangerous, definitely temporary groom, but a groom nonetheless. I hitched up the donkey cart to go hunting, and that's when my family finally noticed the donkey cart existed. In all the chaos of the bleeding mystery man, the emergency surgery, the moving of Old Man Song, and the dinner riot, nobody had registered that we now owned a donkey. When did we get a donkey? Yesterday. Keep up. 27 days to the wedding. One unconscious groom. One greasy fake veterinarian. One donkey who was already regretting its life choices. Let's do this. Whose donkey is this? The men of my family swarmed that donkey cart like it was made of gold. They were petting it, inspecting the wheels, checking the donkey's teeth. Even Old Man Song abandoned his breakfast to come admire the beast, running his greasy hands all over it and declaring it an excellent specimen. Men and their big animals, I swear. Especially veterinarians. My dad bought it, I said quickly, catching Big Mountain frantically winking at me from behind the crowd. For collecting pigs. He's been walking too far. Grandpa patted the donkey's rear and got quiet for a moment. Turns out, our family used to have a donkey cart. Years ago, before Grandpa got sick and Dad sold everything to pay for his treatment. Before that, my mom's dad, Grandpa Chin, had built up the whole butcher business from nothing. He was the town's only butcher, had no sons, and instead of forcing Dad to marry into his family, he just handed everything over. No conditions.
No demands.
Just love. When Grandpa Chin and Grandma Chin got sick, Dad spent every last coin trying to save them. He couldn't. Then our grandpa got sick too, and the donkey cart was the last thing left to sell. Dad's been pushing a flatbed cart on foot ever since. For years. So, yeah, this donkey? It wasn't just a donkey. It was history coming full circle. But I didn't have time for feelings. I had mountains to conquer. We headed into the forest, me, Big Mountain, and Third River, leaving the donkey cart with the ants for hauling wild vegetables. Smart system. Donkey eats grass while waiting. Ants don't break their backs carrying heavy loads. Everybody wins. We reached the spot where I tackled the deer, and immediately something felt wrong. I know blood. I've killed pigs since I was 10. I can smell blood the way other people smell flowers. Instantly, instinctively, and with extreme specificity. And this blood? It wasn't pig blood. It wasn't deer blood. It was something else. Something human, metallic, and slightly rotten.
Something's off, I said.
Wild animals. Third River's eyes lit up. That boy was hoping for another deer to sell. Not animals. We crept forward through waist-high grass. Third River was in front when he suddenly froze. I stepped on something. What? A snake. A really thick snake. I pushed the grass aside and looked down. That was not a snake. That was an arm. H. Third River's scream sent every bird within a mile flapping for their lives. His face went white as rice paper, and his feet were rooted to the ground like he'd been nailed there. Dead people. They're dead people. Oh, grow up, Big Mountain muttered, shoving Third River sideways, though I noticed Big Mountain's legs were shaking too. We found 5 bodies in total, scattered through the tall grass. 3 were dressed in black clothes with their faces covered. 2 wore normal clothing. All of them were very, very dead. Black clothes. Face masks. Swords. I'd heard enough stories from the town storyteller to know what this meant. These are the bad guys. Third River stared at me. How do you know they're bad guys? Everyone knows that people who wear black and cover their faces are villains. The storyteller says so every time. It's like rule number 1 of being evil. You wear black and hide your face. I couldn't argue with centuries of narrative tradition. While my cousin stood there trembling like leaves in a windstorm, I did what any sensible person would do. I searched the bodies. Pockets, belts, hidden pouches, I checked everywhere. My hands came out holding fistfuls of loose silver and, get this, paper money. Actual bank notes. You're robbing dead people? Big Mountain looked like he might throw up. I'm not robbing them.
I'm collecting.
They're dead. They don't need it. And in exchange, I'm going to give them a proper burial instead of leaving them out here to get eaten by wolves. It's a fair trade. Third River had never even seen a banknote before. These pieces of paper are worth money? How much money? No idea. But they're covered in blood, so I can't exactly walk into a bank and cash them right now. I'll figure it out later. We split the loose silver among ourselves, and I tucked the banknotes into my clothes. The boys didn't argue, mostly because they were too busy trying not to vomit. Then I gave these strangers a burial. Sort of. I dragged all 5 bodies into a natural pit in the ground and rolled a boulder over the top. Then I performed a funeral ceremony. Was it a proper ceremony?
No.
My offerings were 3 bugs I caught on the spot. My incense sticks were broken twigs stuck in the dirt. My prayer was, "You've got a roof now, well, a rock. Better than being out here getting chewed on by raccoons. Don't thank me. I took your money. We're even." Third River watched this entire performance with his mouth hanging open. Where did you learn how to do funerals? Granny Sue. Of course.
Granny Sue.
The woman with the terrible memory and the bottomless well of random life wisdom. She'd taught me how to handle dead people the same way she'd taught me everything else, casually between conversations about pork prices. Big Mountain suddenly got serious. There were no animals around these bodies. Shouldn't predators have found them by now? Maybe the predators already ate and left. You mean there might be fed, satisfied wild animals lurking nearby who have recently discovered that humans are edible? Don't say that. Third River plugged his ears. I'm going to have nightmares for a week. Then Big Mountain dropped the bomb I'd been trying not to think about.
Do you think
Chiheng is connected to these dead people? I froze. Who's Chiheng? Your husband, Third River yelled. You don't even remember his name? Oh.
Right. The tree man.
My fiancé. The one currently lying in my grandmother's bed, unable to move. That Chiheng. Big Mountain's theory made sense. My future husband was found half dead, with sword wounds. These people died from sword fights. Same mountain. Same time frame. The math was not complicated. But I had a counterargument.
Impossible.
My man wasn't wearing black. He wasn't wearing a mask.
And he doesn't look like a bad guy.
Bad guys are always ugly and wear black. Storytelling 101. Nobody said he's a bad guy. I just said it's suspicious. Not suspicious. Coincidence. End of discussion. Now, let's get out of this mountain before something alive finds us. We left quickly, and I made an executive decision. No more mountain trips for the next few days. No more wild vegetable gathering for the ants either. Whatever battle happened up there involved serious people with serious weapons, and my family had zero business being anywhere near it. As for the bank notes in my pocket, blood-stained, mysterious, and potentially worth a fortune, those were a problem for tomorrow. Today, I had a wedding to plan, a groom to feed, and a donkey to introduce to the family properly. Priorities. Big Mountain may not be the smartest guy in the family, but he's no fool. I could see the gears turning behind his eyes. He was suddenly very grateful that my marriage arrangement was, man moves into our house, and not send our little sister into some stranger's home. Given that my future husband fell out of a cemetery tree covered in sword wounds, and we just found 5 dead bodies in the same mountain.
Yeah.
Keeping me home was the right call. Down at the base of the mountain, the wild vegetable situation had turned into an all-out territorial war. The second our family started foraging, every idle woman in the village grabbed a basket and rushed to claim the same spots. They weren't even hungry. They just couldn't stand the idea of the Zhao family getting something they weren't getting. Aunties, pack it up. No more wild vegetables today. Everyone go home. I need to go to town. The village women's ears shot up like rabbits hearing a hawk. Why so rushed, Moon Girl? Why are you stopping your aunts from digging? Because I'm getting married and my family needs to prepare the wedding. Dead silence. Then, wait, your family is preparing? Doesn't the groom's family do that? Not when the groom is marrying into my family. He's coming to US. I said it with my chest out, chin up, dripping with pride. I don't go to men. Men come to me. The village women absolutely lost it. This fat girl thinks she can get a man to marry into her family. She can't even get married the normal way, and she wants a live-in husband. He's probably blind and crippled. My aunts and sisters-in-law were about 3 seconds from starting the first Zhao family village brawl. Fists were clenching. Necks were rolling. First aunt was already selecting which face to slap first. Ladies, I said calmly, stepping between my family and the mob. Save your energy. Whether I have a live-in husband or not has nothing to do with any of you. And instead of worrying about my love life, maybe stockpile some grain? Just a thought. Then I turned to my seething relatives. Let them talk. Words are wind. Now let's go. The entire wild vegetable army retreated the second we did. Without the Zhao family to copy, they had no idea what to do with themselves. Sheep without a shepherd. I drove the donkey cart to town with a mission. Tell Dad that great-great-grandpa had personally delivered a groom from the afterlife. At the market, our braised meat shop was mobbed. There was practically a riot at the counter. Old Zhao, you need to make more. This tiny amount is gone before half of us get any. Our braised meat business had gone from people thought we were crazy for selling pig offal to people would commit crimes for a taste. The flavor was addictive. Other shops had tried copying the recipe and failed spectacularly. One guy apparently boiled a chicken foot in soy sauce and called it artisan braised cuisine. It tasted like a boot. Why don't you try other things? Duck heads, chicken feet, anything. Just give us more. Big Brother's eyes lit up. Duck heads, chicken feet. He hadn't even thought of expanding the menu. My mother's magic hands could probably make a shoe taste gourmet. Duck heads would be nothing. Daddy. I burst through the crowd like a bowling ball through pins. Everyone turned to stare at the return of the town's most famous large person. Old Six is back. Still not skinny, I see. That was Granny Sue, naturally. She squinted at me, then at the bags of stuff in my hands, and shook her head with deep disappointment. My weight was her personal crusade, and she was losing badly. Dad's face split into the biggest grin I've ever seen. My girl. You've been to town multiple times and didn't visit your old man. Sorry, Dad, I was busy. But I have news, I'm getting married. The entire market went silent. Then it exploded. What? To whom? Who arranged it? Granny Sue shoved her way to the front, more frantic than Dad himself. Tell me everything. Who's the matchmaker? When's the wedding? My great-great-grandfather arranged it. The groom is marrying into our family. I said it loud and proud. Every person who'd bet against me in the town gambling pool could go eat their betting slips.
What?
A man agreed to marry Ian. Is he disabled, blind, deaf, or missing limbs? Probably all three. The crowd was absolutely certain that any man willing to marry into a woman's family must have something catastrophically wrong with him. In their defense, live-in husbands are practically unheard of. Even beggars refuse to do it. It's considered the ultimate loss of male dignity. But before the roasting could really get going, Granny Sue unleashed. Shut your rotten mouths.
Blind?
Crippled? You eat this family's meat every day, and this is how you repay them? Talking garbage about their daughter? Get out. All of you. Scram. Her spit spray covered approximately 2 city blocks. The hecklers scattered like cockroaches in lamplight. Say what you want about Granny Sue, and I frequently do, but when she's on your side, she's a one-woman army. Then the murmuring started among the more reasonable neighbors. Hold on. Did she say her great-great-grandfather arranged it? Her great-great-grandfather has been dead for decades. Which great-great-grandfather? There are a couple of old Zhao men in the village, but they don't have teeth, let alone matchmaking skills. Dad's brain was clearly short-circuiting. He knew his grandfather was dead. He knew dead people don't arrange marriages. But his daughter was standing here telling him she had a groom, and right now, he didn't care if the matchmaker was a ghost, a goat, or the Buddha himself. Thank you all for your concern. When my daughter gets married, you're all invited to drink wedding wine. The stone on Dad's chest had been lifted. Well, half of it. The other half would drop when he actually saw the groom. But for now, his baby girl wasn't going to be force-married to a widower by the government. That was enough. Old 6. Fatty girl. Little Moon. Granny Sue was circling through names like a broken compass, trying desperately to remember mine. Zhao Xingyue. Yes. Zhao Xingyue. Remember Granny's advice. Eat less. Work more. Try to lose some weight before the wedding. Men don't like fat women. Now I have to go home and prepare a gift for you. And she scurried off, having once again forgotten that I'm not leaving. The husband is coming to me. No dowry needed. But try explaining that to a woman who can't remember my name after 15 years. I grabbed Dad and Big Brother. Home.
Now.
We need to talk, and not in the market where everyone can hear. Dad closed the shop midday, something he never does, and our whole family speed-walked home, bursting with questions nobody dared ask in public. The biggest question, of course, who exactly was this mystery groom that a dead great-great-grandfather had apparently hand-delivered from the spirit world? And more importantly, did he still have all his limbs? Dad saw the donkey cart in the yard, and his brain short-circuited with pure joy. You bought this for me? Really? Honey, pinch me. This man didn't ask where the money came from.
Didn't ask how much it cost.
Didn't ask a single practical question. He just hugged that donkey like it was his long-lost child and nearly wept with happiness. Daughters. 1, sons. 0, as always. Mom was less thrilled. You spent your money on a donkey? I just gave you my secret savings. Everybody inside. I have news. But the news wasn't just the donkey or the groom. Oh no. What happened before I came home was... Well, let me back up. After leaving the mountain with the dead body's banknotes in my pocket, I didn't go straight home. I went to the black market. Specifically, I went to see Zhou Delu, the shadiest man in Clear Spring Town. This guy runs the underground economy. Gambling dens, black market trades, things that would make a magistrate's hair fall out. He's basically a crime boss with a customer service smile. Little fatty Zhao. You here to buy a husband. Turns out, this man had placed a bet in the town gambling pool that I would successfully get married. He'd staked real money on my love life. If I didn't find a husband soon, he'd lose his wager, and apparently that was unacceptable. He was about 3 days from showing up at our house and personally dragging a groom to my doorstep. I don't need to buy a man. I already have one. He's marrying into my family. Zhou's jaw dropped. Someone agreed to marry into your, congratulations. What kind of man would, how wonderful. Smooth save, Zhou. Real smooth. Now look at this. I pulled out the stack of bloody banknotes from my shirt. His eyes went from amused to laser-focused in 0 seconds. He counted. He examined. He went very, very quiet. Every single note was at least 100 taels. The total stack? Thousands. Where did your family get this kind of money? he asked carefully.
The origin is
Questionable. How much will you give me? Here's what I knew. The money came from dead men in a mountain. The notes were real. Zhou's reaction confirmed that. But I couldn't walk into a normal bank with blood-crusted paper and a story about cemetery trees and sword fights. Zhou was the only person in town who dealt in questionable origin finances. I'll need to take on considerable risk, he started. Stop dancing around it. Give me a number. I can't gather enough cash right now for the full amount. How much can you gather? About 700. Deal. 789 taels.
789.
I have never in my life heard a number that large applied to anything I personally owned. My hands were shaking. My fat was vibrating. Every cell in my body was screaming, "Don't show excitement," while my soul was doing backflips off a cliff. I kept my poker face locked tight. You don't even know how much the notes were worth, do you? Zhou asked, squinting at me suspiciously. I feel like I just got scammed. Of course I know. I just recognize that you're taking risks too, so I'm letting you keep the larger share. That's called being fair. I had absolutely no idea how much they were worth. For all I knew, I just sold 10,000 taels for 700. But you know what? 700 taels I have is worth infinitely more than 10,000 taels I can't use. Zhou looked at me with genuine respect. You know, Zhao Xingyue, if you'd been born a man, you'd be running this entire province. Are you about to propose to me? And oh, I said if you were a man. Good. Because in my heart, you're strictly a big brother figure. I'll take it. He packed 789 taels into 2 bags and personally saw me off, calling me his money god sister. Apparently I'd arrived at exactly the right moment. He was looking to expand his business and needed capital. My blood money was his miracle investment. I shoved the bags into Big Mountain's and Big River's arms and sprinted to the market to find Dad. They stood there holding enough silver to buy a small village, completely paralyzed. When I got back home later with the whole family, my 2 cousins were sitting in the house like statues. They hadn't moved. They hadn't spoken. They hadn't blinked. They just sat there, clutching the money bags against their chests, staring into the middle distance with the hollow eyes of men who had witnessed too much. What's wrong with them? Dad asked. They look possessed. Should I get Granny Sue? Mom offered. Maybe she can check if they bumped into a ghost. They're fine, I said, waving my hand. Probably just tired from. Then Big Mountain and Big River slowly, mechanically stood up. Without a word, they closed the door. Then the windows. Then they turned around, walked to the bed, and dumped both bags upside down.
Crash.
Silver AVALANCHED across the bed. Coins, ingots, pieces, a waterfall of money that kept coming and coming and coming until the entire sleeping platform was covered in a glittering mountain of wealth. Silence. Then Dad. What in the... Mom? Am I dreaming? Big brother. Did you too rob someone? Big Mountain and Big River just pointed at me. 789 taels. On the bed. In our house. Enough money to buy grain for years. Open 3 more shops. Purchase an entire herd of donkeys. And still have enough left over to make fat landlord Lou jealous. 2 days ago, I was a dumped, deadline-facing, husbandless pig butcher. Today, I have a groom, a donkey cart, a braised meat empire, and more silver than my family has seen in 5 generations combined. All because I body-slammed a deer, searched some dead guy's pockets, and did business with the town crime lord. Great-great-grandpa, if you arranged all of this from the afterlife, the tree man, the dead bodies, the bank notes, then I take back every complaint. You're not just a matchmaker. You're a financial advisor. We didn't rob anyone. We earned it. Okay, fine. Earned is a stretch. Found on dead people and sold through the black market is more accurate, but that doesn't sound as good at family meetings. I told them everything.
The dead bodies.
The bank notes.
The
exchange. Every jaw in the room dropped lower with each sentence until I'm pretty sure some of them were scraping the floor. Dead people. You went to Zhou Delu? The crime lord. Everybody calm down. I had to physically yell them into silence. This family, I love them to death, but give them one piece of shocking news and they turn into a henhouse during a thunderstorm. Imagine giving them 5 pieces of shocking news in the span of 10 minutes. The dead people are buried. The banknotes are cash now. We have 789 taels of silver sitting on this bed. Now we need to split it. Split? These are yours. Big Mountain and Big River waved their hands so fast they nearly took off like helicopters. We didn't do anything. We don't even know what banknotes look like. Keep it all, sweet boys. Useless but sweet. Dad was the first to regain brain function. How do you want to split it? 200 taels each for first uncle's family, second uncle's family, and our family. The rest goes to grandpa and grandma. Seemed fair to me. Found money is family money.
Period.
Dad looked at me with that expression. Half proud, half heartbroken. You didn't think about keeping any for yourself. Why would I? We haven't split the household. What's ours is ours. I plopped down on the bed and ran my hands through the silver. So pretty. So shiny. I wondered what gold looked like. Probably even prettier. But wait, I suddenly realized something critical. I'm bringing a man into this house. That means one more mouth to feed. Sisters-in-law. Do you have a problem with that? I should have asked them weeks ago. Here I was, the girl who ate more than any 3 family members combined, announcing that not only was she not leaving, she was bringing another person home. If my sisters-in-law had complained, I would have understood completely. Zhao Xingyue, did you just ask if we mind? Say that again, and I'll rip your lips off. Your family, whether you marry in or out. Were you planning to abandon us? All 3 sisters-in-law looked like they wanted to simultaneously hug me and smack me. I may have gotten a tiny bit emotional. Just a tiny bit. The tiniest amount. Dad scooped all the silver back into the bags, including my proposed shares, and headed for the door. We're going to the village. Your grandfather decides how to split it, not you, but Dad, just leave Mom 200. Your mother will survive. Let's go. I looked at Mom for backup. She shrugged. Listen to your father. Then my sisters-in-law appeared, each carrying a small bundle. Before you go, we made you something. They unwrapped the bundles and held up. A wedding dress. My wedding dress. They'd been sewing it in secret. For who knows how long. Stitch by stitch, panel by panel, working around the fact that I'm roughly 3 times the size of a normal bride, which means 3 times the fabric, 3 times the thread, 3 times the work. It's not fancy, they said, but it fits. My eyes went red. I hadn't even thought about a wedding dress. I'd been so busy hunting deer, selling blood, punching thugs, and negotiating with crime lords that basic wedding stuff hadn't crossed my mind. But my sisters-in-law had been quietly working on it this entire time, squirreling away fabric scraps until they had enough for someone my size. Stay in the village until the wedding, they said. We'll close the shop in a few days and come help you prepare. I clutched that dress against my chest, fat tears threatening to spill. Mom pushed me out the door before I could fully melt down. Dad drove the donkey cart like a man reborn. He held the reins with one hand and cracked the little whip with the other, grinning so wide you could count every tooth. This man had wanted a donkey for years. He was living his best life. Then he suddenly stopped the cart.
Wait.
You said your great-great-grandfather arranged the marriage. Which great-great-grandfather? I should buy him a gift. Incense and offerings, Dad. He's been dead for decades. Dead?
When?
Why didn't anyone tell me? Dad was literally about to cry, thinking some elderly relative had passed away and nobody informed him. Uncle. She means the actual great-great-grandfather. The one in the grave. She went to his tombstone and asked for a husband, and a man fell out of a tree. Big Mountain explained the whole thing. Dad listened with increasingly wide eyes. So you're telling me my dead grandfather dropped a man out of a tree for my daughter? Basically, yes. That's incredible. Quick, we need to buy the best incense. The finest offerings. My grandfather is a legend. We made an emergency stop to buy premium incense, candles, and food offerings. Then Dad drove us straight to the family cemetery and dragged everyone to great-great-grandpa's grave. He knelt down with tears of gratitude and began praying. Grandfather, thank you for looking after our Xingyue. You truly are the greatest ancestor our family has ever had. Now, if you could just help speed things along and make sure I get a grandchild soon, Dad, you can't ask a dead man to help me have babies. Why not? He dropped you a husband from a tree. Getting you pregnant should be easy by comparison. Can we leave? Right, we should go before it gets dark and grandfather decides to come out and say hello in person. Dad grabbed us all and sprinted out of the cemetery. The man kills pigs for a living. He's covered in blood 6 days a week. He's wielded a butcher knife since before I was born. But ghosts? Ghosts scare him. We ran all the way back to the village where the entire family was waiting at the gate, worried sick because we'd been gone all day. 789 taels of silver. A handmade wedding dress from sisters-in-law who love me. A dad who thanked a tombstone for sending me a husband. And an ancestor who apparently runs the afterlife's most effective dating service. Not a bad day. Not bad at all. We got home late and Grandpa was not happy. Forget dinner, I have big news, Dad announced, clutching the money bags against his chest like a mama bear with her cubs. Bigger than meeting your future son-in-law. Grandpa's face could have curdled milk. The man is lying in the next room, and you haven't even looked at him yet, Dad blinked.
Oh, right.
The husband. I forgot about the husband. He forgot. About the husband. The entire reason we went to the cemetery, the entire reason this week has been the most insane week of my life, and my father's brain deleted it, because he was holding silver. Old Man Song was there too, casually eating our food like he'd lived here for 30 years. Dad scanned the room for his new son-in-law, couldn't find him, and started spinning in circles. He's in the bedroom, Song said, mouth full. Lying down. Because he's injured. Remember. Is he a cripple? A dying man? Grandpa, how could you send us a broken one? I wasted perfectly good incense on you. Grandpa nearly slapped him into next week. Shut your mouth and go see him. Dad barged into the bedroom and froze. There, propped up on the bed in plain rough clothes, was Chiheng.
Pale.
Bandaged. But even in dim lamplight, even wrapped in cheap fabric, the man was devastatingly, unfairly, impossibly handsome. Sharp eyebrows. Starlit eyes. A lazy, noble elegance that made the whole room feel like a palace. Dad's brain rebooted. His mouth fell open. Then a slow, stupid grin spread across his face. Great-grandpa, you absolute legend. This one is 1,000,000 times better than that weasel scholar. Then Dad did what Dad does best. He charged straight at the patient with zero social awareness. Son-in-law, what's wrong with you? Where does it hurt? Let Daddy take a look. Dad. We haven't even had the wedding yet. You can't just call yourself Daddy. My face was on fire. This man had been conscious for approximately 1 day, and my father was already trying to perform a medical examination on him using pig butchering knowledge. To his credit, Chiheng handled it with grace. He sat up slightly and said, "This humble one, Chiheng greets." Father-in-law. He couldn't bring himself to say, "Dad, I noticed." He said, "Father-in-law," instead, all formal and stiff, like he was addressing a government official rather than a pork-scented man who'd just tried to diagnose him like livestock. Old Man Song swooped in to smooth things over.
See?
He acknowledged you. That's 70% of the deal done. Now, let's not traumatize him further. Then Grandpa noticed Dad was still clutching those money bags. What are you carrying? Put those in the storage room. Can't.
We need to talk.
Outside, Dad started making the most ridiculous faces, eyebrows wiggling, lips twitching, eyes darting toward the door. Grandpa stared at him like he'd lost his mind. Say whatever you need to say here. There are no outsiders in this room. Grandpa didn't consider Song an outsider. And Chiheng was already family, so privacy was apparently not a thing.
Fine.
Okay. Don't say I didn't warn you. Dad was about to launch into his terrible explanation when I stepped in. If I let him tell the story, we'd be here until sunrise. Grandpa, we found dead people in the mountain. I took their banknotes and exchanged them for silver. I dumped both bags onto Chiheng's bed. 789 taels of silver cascaded across the blanket in a glittering avalanche. Silence. Total, absolute, oxygen has left the room. Silence. Everyone looked at the silver. Then at me. Then at Dad. Then back at the silver. Nobody knew what to say. It was like their brains all crashed simultaneously. Old man Song broke the silence first, and his face was deadly serious. What did the dead people look like? Tell me everything. 3 in black with face masks. 2 in dark blue normal clothes. All killed by blades. Every wound was fatal. I only took the money. I left their weapons and identity tokens as grave goods. And I performed a funeral ceremony. Song's eyes flickered to Chiheng. Just for a second. But I caught it. I wasn't the only one who suspected the dead people were connected to my future husband. Song knew, and something about it worried him. Girl,
Come with me to the mountain.
now, he grabbed my arm and headed for the door. He wanted to go up there in the dark to check on the burial site, probably to destroy evidence connecting the bodies to Chiheng. Are you insane? Dad exploded. It's night. There are wolves. You want to take my daughter up there? Song took a deep breath. He couldn't tell Dad the real reason. So he improvised. Think about it, if there were 5 dead people with that much money, there are probably more bodies up there. More banknotes. More silver. Just lying in the grass, waiting to be picked up. Dad's eyes glazed over with pure greed. My daughter stays home, he declared. Then he grabbed the empty money bags. I'll go with you. OH, for the love of. Nobody is going anywhere, I put on my scary face. The one that makes thugs hand over their wallets. The one that made a wild boar consider retreating. There is no more silver up there. We searched the entire area. If there were more bodies with more money, don't you think I would have found them? I literally checked every bush. Dad and Song were still vibrating with treasure hunting energy. But what if you missed? I didn't miss anything. But did I stutter? Dad surrendered instantly. I'm not going. Whatever my daughter says. She's the boss. I'll go when she says I can go. Song held out for about 3 more seconds before folding.
Fine.
I'm too old for night hiking anyway. These 2 grown men want a lifelong pig. Butcher with a knife collection, one a secret medical genius with admitted access to poison. We're ready to stumble up a dark mountain full of dead bodies and potential murderers for the chance at finding loose change. And I, the 18-year-old girl, had to be the adult in the room.
This is my life.
This is my eternal life. I don't gain weight from eating too much. I gain weight from the stress of babysitting an entire extended family of lovable idiots. Meanwhile, lying quietly on his silver-covered bed, watching this absolute circus unfold around him, was Chiheng. The man who hadn't said a single unnecessary word all evening. The man whose face revealed nothing. The man who definitely, absolutely, 100% knew exactly who those dead people in the mountain were. And who said nothing. I filed that away for later. Right now I had bigger problems, like keeping my father and my fake grandfather from getting themselves killed on a midnight treasure hunt. Being me is exhausting. But at least I'm rich now.